Yeah, pen is on a nightstand.
Yes, sir. Okay. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass. Thoughts at the speed of light. Got my past and my present doing suicide. It ain't about what you want, it's about what you desire. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire. And when shit get real, boy, you gon' see who gon' ride. Like try to knock me down, but I won't bend. See, I stay heated. Haters try to make me cold again. See, y'all can keep that fame. Boy, I just want the bands. I keep my mind tight, fingers loose. Always kept my eyes on the one with a fast shoe. I travel by night, but I live for the sky blue. A lot of build the best body, they smooth. Used to ride tight, you fall short. Gon' show you, boy, who you really need to cut loose this life. And I be sliding through the city, not giving a light in hand, exhausting this bad, heavy, I'm stuck. No visuals of the past, no images that I had. I showed too much love, but it is life. Shake back that pain I had to let go of. You dog, you get no love but heart. And Unc told me, he looked me in my eyes and told me them ain't your they gon' try to cut throat, so keep your yes, sir. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass. Thoughts at the speed of light. Got my past and my present doing suicide. It ain't about what you want, it's about what you desire. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire. And when shit get real, boy, you gon' see who gon' ride. Living life here day by day. Don't try to ride it way. The current here too strong, boy. You can get swept away in light. Trying to tame a beast and end up missing without a trace. See, I roll it, light it, and pray these problems, boy, just fade away. I'm gifted with this. Dime a dozen, boy, ace of spades. Take L's, I know about it. Come from out that mud, feeling like I couldn't come about it. This shit holy writ, etched in stone. Walk with the triple C's, but I'm with this shitty hater, know my destiny. That's why they want to invest in me. I love being tested, jit, this shit just bring the best of me. Keep it hot and ready, boy, I can show you the recipe. Keep my black beauty with my call that holder Emily. Downfield range, boy, I'm gunning just like Drew Brees. Throwing verses like passing, I know you cannot receive. With me, no one like Alicia. You walk in white lines when you should've been running keys. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass. Thoughts at the speed of light. Got my past and my present doing suicide. It ain't about what you want, it's about what you desire. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire. And when shit get real, boy, you gon' see who gon' ride.
That's what it is, I think, is the saying. There's a saying in there somewhere, but it's an exciting day. It's an exciting week. We're back. Feels like it's been a while since we've been on one of these shows, but also me and Dan are in the same house, so we've got no excuses to not have like great chemistry today. So it's going to be a whole thing going down. So it's going to be great.
Are you doing okay, Gaskin? Has Onset been treating you well?
I'm slightly worried if anything goes wrong today, the door is not locked here. So, I mean, he could rugby tackle me at any moment. So I just need to make sure I'm in my best behavior. But I'm very excited. I think that today there's a lot of teams that are going to be looking to try and right some wrongs because we've seen a couple of teams struggle a little bit in the early stages of Pro League. But now we're starting to get to the big boy time. You know, teams have to make things work now. Otherwise, they might find themselves not getting into regional finals.
I like that. Big boy time. Let's see who's joining us for big boy time, as match day 6 is home to groups B and C. These two groups are, I want to say, I wouldn't say going up against each other. They're playing in the same lobby, and they're going to be playing over both Storm Point and E District. Some big names on the board, and just like you were talking about, Gaskin, some squads that are struggling a bit as well. For those of you most dedicated viewers, you may still be seeing squads where you're like, whoa, wait, I swear that team was going by a different name. Onset, who's changed things up coming into this week?
Well, just the org change, just one of them this week, but it's just an org change. We've got plenty of roster changes, but I've been tasked with this, knowing that my English, there's no way I could ever mess this up, right? Annex Esports have become Nephilim. And that is the one effort I will make of that for now until we get into game. Nephilim will be the new org that has been picked up. So congratulations for those gentlemen for making the change.
Yeah, surely that can't be wrong, right?
Can't be wrong.
I'm just going to go with what Mark says. So that's usually how I work with things. Anyway, we've had roster changes as well. 10K have made a change. Team Nemesis have benefited from that change, perhaps replacing Taxington. G-Dolphin is going to be on 10K now. We'll talk more about that later. Maybe I'll have a little secret surprise for you guys as well. And Reply Totem also making a change, picking up Shex as well. So we'll see how those roster changes affect things today, dear.
On the pronunciation side, as somebody who read an excessive amount of YA novels and also occasionally the Bible, you've pronounced it correctly. Nephilim, you can do that.
Nailed it.
You can do that all day.
This show is already off to a heater, everybody. We're in a great place.
Let's take a look at our overall standings for how these teams, including Nephilim, are going to be positioned moving into what is now solidly the back half of our split. 20th is going to be the cutoff for those teams that want to make the regional finals, as everybody does. But say the first teams in 1st through 10th, they're having a little bit of an easier time. If you're 20th through 24th, Onset, you are sweating right now. Same amount of points.
Yeah, same amount of points. Some of those teams with an extra match day played as well, so they're going to be even sweatier. They will be, needing some serious electrolyte help very, very soon. But yeah, I mean, if you want to make it to the mid-season playoffs, then you've got to get to the regional finals first. So to be on that cutoff, to be really kind of looking down rather than up at this point in the season means that, you've got to really focus up. You've got to find a way to get some points because that's how tight it is at the moment. 20th place has been shared by all of those teams as it stands.
A lot of these squads that are in that 20th to 25th place bubble as well, all squads that we know can have a fantastic day, can pop off, especially when I don't want to name any names, but if you look at the list, even Zipline Mafia was having their come up recently, and only for not wanting to pick favorites, I'm going to make you guys do it, because when we do come into these match days and we have about 20 teams playing, it can be difficult to decide who to prioritize. So Onset, who have you got your eyes on today?
Well, it would be rude not to mention the best team in EMEA, wouldn't it? Historically, the best team in EMEA, and some people have been saying one of the best teams in the world. The likes of Zero have been saying, the only other team with hands, he said in his tweet, which is quite a statement from him, but it also shows that Alliance have gathered his respect. And it's been, I would say, by their own standards, not perfect so far this split for them, although the last time we did see them on a match day, they did come out with the win. But the expectation for Alliance is always first place, and it's not just first place, it's first place by a distance. That's the level that they kind of set themselves. And as we take a look at match day 4, which was the one we had most recently for Alliance, you can see that they did meet those expectations. It was first place overall, 78 points and 43 kills, first, second, fourth, 13th, 11th, a little bit off the boil for them, but then a 3rd place to close out. It was the Alliance we expect to see, and the Alliance, of course, who last time they were in Riyadh picked up a trophy. So let's keep that in mind as well as we head back towards that mid-season playoffs. But Dan, who have you got? I've talked Alliance. Who are you looking at today?
Well, you said you expected to see them. I expected to see this team performing well when they were first formed. FaZe Clan came onto our screens, and I was thinking, this is going to be a team that is going to run through everyone. They're going to get so many kills. They're going to be very, at the top of the leaderboards. But they started very cold. They are now starting to heat up a little bit, just like this bottle of ALGS Open hot sauce you may have been seen consumed by Zephyr because he's insane. Anyway, they find themselves around 20th position at the moment. They're obviously in that tied set of teams that Mark was already talking about there. You really on that bubble, on that cusp. I think that FaZe are going to be okay. They seem to have found their rhythm a little bit. I think the expectation is going to be for them to get into regional finals. However, if they have another dud week, they may just find themselves in that position where they start to take too many risks, where they start to panic a little bit. We can look back at some of the statistics of how these match days have gone for them so far. As I said, they really started off cold. They were struggling in match day 1. They did not look like the team that we expected them to see. Their best performance, 9th. Outside of that, they were in the bottom 15 for every single one. Match Match day 3 didn't really get much better for them as well. They finished in 19th overall on that match day. So again, it was one of the weeks to forget for them. And they probably were thinking, you know, is this going to work? Is this the team that is going to be working for us? But they did stick with it, and for good reason. When you look at their final match day that we've seen so far, a massive difference from match day 3 to 4. They pushed themselves up to 3rd place overall. They also found a win with 8 kills in that last game, which is a huge compared to how they performed. So I think they finally found their rhythm, and I think we have to keep an eye on FaZe Clan because they are a team that should be at the top of the leaderboards here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting great things from FaZe. I like the way they play zone, but I've really been liking the way Zero Tenacity have played recently. Keeping an eye on their last match day and even the performances before that, it is clear that their gameplay has taken a step up since the Open, at least from an outside perspective, and a large part of that has come down to exactly how they're playing within the meta, because their zone predictions have always been pretty good. Their naturally micro play has been very good, as Fuda and Micey are incredible gunners. You've seen them be picked up by a lot of different squads across EMEA, and having Phoenix alongside them. I mentioned it on the interview last week, but recently, or in the past, from Forg Gang, a really exciting IGL who does have a different read on the meta, on the game, than a lot of other folks in EMEA. And just makes for a very exciting and very dynamic team that's able to play big and take up a lot of space, but also really notably able to play quiet when it benefits them. And it benefited them last week to the tune of a second place, and first place finish. All those within the top 3, and all those after, I would say, a disappointing first 2 games. So it can take the squad a little while to get going, but that's why I'd keep your eyes on them, because they are a squad that once they find that solution, it's clear that they can spread success across 2 maps with the win, or rather with the second place in matches 3 and 4. Those are the teams that you can look out for in the future, in the next couple of minutes as we get the games revved up. But there are some of you who are tuning in and going, oh, finally, it's the weekend. I can get back to Apex Legends. What have I missed? And you've missed it, you know, a variety of things, from big to small, from roster change to just welcoming in the newest member of our talent team, or maybe not talent team just yet, but we wanted to give a big congratulations to Tiff and her family for welcoming in the newest member of theirs, and eventually the larger ALGS family, once the baby wipes the sleep off its eyes and gets onto the camera. Yeah.
Amazing news. Super excited to meet him. Yeah. Once the reality of life sets in and the baby stops crying and starts, you know, looking at Apex Legends VODs like it should. Now,
and then starts crying more.
What else have we missed on set?
Let's look at KP poll. It's the player of the week, which is community based, and a lot of different regions, of course, playing the LGS throughout the Pro League. And this is the nominations for the players who have been the standouts in their particular regions. Of course, you can head over to kppol.com if you want to have a look at this and get involved yourself. Deeds was the player from the Americas who was nominated. Unlucky from EMEA. We'll get to see him today on this particular show. And then we have QQ from BK Gaming, and we have Leica from Noise Fox from APAC North. And your winner is... I'm kind of building this up like it's some sort of suspense, but also this has already been announced. It's going to be Leica from APAC North. 24 kills for him and 11 assists last time that we saw him out. First in damage as well. No surprise to see with those kind of statistics that he takes away the KP poll, player of the week. And speaking of APAC North, if you want to look and watch a little bit more of Leica and Noise Fox, then you can do exactly that. Twitch.tv/esports_rage, or if you like to use the YouTubes, you can do that as well. youtube.com/esports_rage 6287. You can see the schedule there so that you don't miss anything. Now, of course, the regional finals are coming up as well. That's me. That's what you might have missed from me. Dan, what have the people missed that you want to bring to their attention?
Promised you news on 10K's roster change. Surprise. Well, I have a super secret tweet that was put out, which wasn't that secret. There's Mark as well, just in case you were wondering where he was. But anyway, yeah, 10K have made a change. Kashira decided to take to social media to say that they are picking up G Dolphin. They had a few options, but maybe they went with the most unexpected. I think it was what the team needed. Now, they said they will see us all on Saturday. Of course, we are here. It is Saturday, and we are going to see them competing today. And sure, might have been unexpected for some, but I personally am very excited to see G Dolphin performing on this roster. Could be one of the best rosters we've seen him on as well. So we'll have to see how things go today. Maybe they'll be at the top of the leaderboards as the day ends here, dear.
I'm hoping so. We've got a lot to look forward to, and maybe a little bit more to talk about when it comes to this particular roster change. But before we do any of that, I do want to say, for those of you who are perhaps our more curious viewers as to what's going on behind the scenes with these teams, how the comms are shaking out, what 10K is up to, what your other favorite squads are up to. I mean, we've mentioned a few so far. I talked about Zero Tenacity, Onset's got Alliance, and you can have whoever you want up on the multi-view when you're over at Face It Watch. One of my personal favorites, the map feed. Absolutely goated thing to have up during the day's games, as it gives you so much context on what's going on, be it having that up alongside the mainstream because we reference it all the time, or alongside your favorite teams so you know what threats are coming their way. There are so many ways to customize your viewing experience and enjoy the Apex Legends Global Series over at faceit.com.
I'm Shiza, co-founder of Our Place, and this is how we created the award-winning Always Pan.
Questions and curiosities will arise. We've got a lot to cover, and we want to hear what you're thinking so that we can then talk about it and think about it ourselves. Onset, I wanted to continue on Gaskin's point earlier about this G-Dolphin roster change. Well, we have just a moment before the games kick off. What do you make of this pickup specifically? Because G-Dolphin has helped raise up a lot of rosters, but he seems to disappear very quickly after that.
Yeah, he's someone who I think was caught between, does he want to compete? Does he want to really dedicate the time to it? Or do I want to be in the content creator sphere? And I think just recently has recognized that he wants to be that competitor. And one thing that he's going to bring to this roster, which is now a triple MK roster, is legend diversity. If you've watched his streams, he will do runs in ranked on some of the least, palatable legends that are at the time and make it work. Vantage was something that he was very heavy on and would play a lot of games on. And I think just having that deep legend pool is something that people are starting to look at a little bit more when they try and put these rosters together, because it's no longer a case of learning one legend for an entire split. You have to have 3, 4, 5, 6 legends in your pool that you're going to be able to flip between. And I like the pickup because it gives them that flexibility. So I think G-Dolphin's a bit more of a smart pickup than maybe some people would recognize.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see how this changes things, if it changes things. Gaskin, G-Dolph has typically IGL'd a lot of squads through the Challenger circuit as well, and so maybe alongside Kashira, you're bringing a few new ideas to the table?
Yeah, and I don't think that hurts. I think that Kashira has his way of playing Apex Legends, and it can be very successful in certain metas, but as Mark was alluding to, in a meta that is constantly shifting, in a game that is different every single time because there's going to be different legends, there's going to be different pathing, you're going to have to play in a different way. I personally believe that having someone who can somewhat co-IGL, even if it's not too specific, even if it's not someone who's like too demanding with their calls, but someone who can just like give a little thought here or there to say, well, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. You don't necessarily want 2 players who are just the fragging players who aren't going to make any sort of calls at all. And I know that as Apex develops, even those players are now starting to understand the game to a point where they can also give their frame of mind and they can start to decide how they want to play the game as well. But I do think that this could be a really big help for Kashira and just maybe sometimes give him a different perspective of how to look at the game.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot to look forward to with this squad and with the games coming up, and even bigger than that, with the future of Apex Legends, because the ALGS is going to the Esports World Cup for the mid-season playoffs. I want to take a look just to see what we have to look forward to. All right, Onset, I have a question for you. For the plot, Do you think Falcons are gonna try extra hard and win again, or is this going to be another alliance show when we get to the midseason playoffs?
I mean, that is the most loaded question.
Are they going to try extra hard?
That's crazy from you. I think that they are going to try as hard as they ever do, dear, to be honest with you. I think they know that this is one of the biggest prize pools that we have in the ALGS, and now part of the ALGS, of course. Those guys like to win money. Those guys play to win money, and they will be going as hard as ever. So excited to see if Falcons could do it. But again, Alliance very comfortable on that stage, like you say. So, or maybe there's going to be a surprise. Who knows? We could have another Go Next story at the Esports World Cup. That's the beauty of this competition. You never quite know what's going to happen in the ALGS.
You know, it's nice to be in the seat where you're asking questions, because I just get to fire away and then see what happens. And it was a very diplomatic answer from you on.
However, really well.
yeah, that was fantastic. The diplomacy, however, has to come to an end, because we will be declaring a winner at least of our first match in just a few minutes. So as we start gearing things up, I'm going to let you guys take this one, because match 1 is just a few seconds away.
Thank you so much, dear. It's time for us to get back into a little bit of commentary work, Dan, who has frozen on my screen in one of the funniest freeze frames I have seen in quite some time. I thought you were going to be excited to cast with me, Dan, but you looked absolutely fed up of the idea of it already. Come on, brother. I need something more from you.
It wasn't a freeze frame. That was actually, I just really was upset.
Just completely still.
Oh, amazing. That is incredible. What a way to start. Yeah, I'm really excited for the games today. We haven't really discussed, what maps we're going to be playing today. Last week we saw Broken Moon come into the equation, but we won't be playing Broken Moon today. We're going to be seeing Storm Point, and we're going to be seeing E-District. And one key aspect to take away from this one, Mark, is E-District's going to be playing in 4-5-6. Yes. Last week we saw E-District 1-2-3, so we saw Alter, Ash, Ballistic banned in the early bans, but that is probably going to be different here with Storm Point opening things up for us.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see if Alter makes it through to E-District, where we know what an impact that she can have as a legend on the map. But before we get there, we got to talk about Storm Point. This is our POI draft. Dan, what are you taking away from this? It's always my first thing is to look towards Northpad and Trident, and it looks like Alliance, they've got it all.
Yeah, my first thing is always to look at who has prioritized, and you can see with the amount of early picks who was looking at Storm Point being where they want to get heavy points scored today. And we always see this alongside E-District, because E-District we feel is more of a fair map when it comes to distributing those POIs. But Stay Healthy had the first pick, and they've gone for Ceto Station, Reply Totem over towards the Mill, and Mind at Lightning Rod, Aurora down at Cenote Cave. So they are going to be 4 teams that we definitely have to keep an eye out for, especially when we look at Tridents and who's going to have them available to them to be able to move fast and get to some of these end games.
I want to give a shout out to Mind as well, making some roster changes, put this roster together. Shout out to my boy Taylor, by the way. I'm going to give you a shout out. Great at Apex Legends, very excited to see him play today. Not so good at other video games that involve, I would say, calmness, communication, and not pushing me to my death. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's talk about the games we got in front of us. Dan, we got the ALGS kicking off. The Pro League is back. It's B versus C. This is match 1. And of course, as you can see, we're starting this thing off on Storm Point.
Funny you should say that, because I think Apex does also involve sometimes being calm, collected, and not putting your teammate off the map either. Especially when there are Tridents involved. Because
I've done him a little bit dirty there. That's unfair of me.
You never really know where you might end up if a Trident is involved. But yeah, we're jumping into this game. Another week of Pro League and another chance to try and put yourselves up in the leaderboards a little bit more, because there are some teams who just are struggling a little bit at the moment, Mark, which I guess is a surprise. But this is where you can change things. We've kind of reached the halfway point. So any changes that you needed to happen would have happened by now. Whether it be a team change, whether it be an org change, you should be in a good position by now.
Yeah, I think everything that would have changed has been done now. That window is now closed, but now it's about performing, right? You make the team changes, you make the roster changes, make the org changes, you maybe even make, legend diversity changes and what you want to play composition wise. But now you have to put it together, because these match days are going to slip through your fingers as we head towards the north side, hillside, outside of the wall, it looks like, for our first zone of the day here on Storm Point. So BPR, great for them. Forbidden, going to have a very good opportunity to get a spot, as our team Nemesis and VC go. Anyone coming from the north side of the map is going to be very, very happy here.
Yeah, they're going to be able to move very fast and get into one of those priority positions for sure. The struggle is going to be those coming from the south and the southwest. I mean, we spoke about Aurora being down towards Cenote, and even though they weren't contested at all, like no one's going to be moving fast to Cenote, so they can spread out and loot that POI because it's quite large. They can loot it fast. It's about then trying to traverse the map in a way where they can avoid some of these teams. Otherwise, they might just decide to play more aggressive and decide like try and take some fights instead. But it really will depend on how fast they try and move. And 10K, a team that we have to keep an eye on after their change as well, moving from Barometer.
Yeah, BPR already gone to that hillside house, by the way, where they believe this game is going to be ended. It's a great spot to hold down. They did have a ring console as well, which is going to give them that information. And speaking of 10K, let's take a look at a 10K. You, of course, have a post-kill Kashira, and you have G-Dolph all together now. So they're going to have a little bit of ring console. And also you're going to see the crypto being picked up here by Kashira. So a little bit of a comfort pick for him. And G-Dolph, he's going to be playing on Ash first game, which is not something we see a lot of, actually. Ash being such an early pick, but it looks like they've got a couple of rotation options now with both the Catalyst and Ash.
And the majority of the lobby agreeing with them as well. Ash is the highest pick legend in this lobby, so Ash is going to be banned for game 2. Does happen often on Storm Point, I guess, but we are going to have a fight now up towards the north. A lot of teams are going to be arriving here, looking to try and find a place to play.
Yeah, Nemesis, one of those teams who we said had moved from the southern side of where this zone is going to be, and they are not letting Forbidden get into this zone. They immediately pop the ballistic hole. You can see they get that first knock onto Lufka as well. So Kaisha, of course, made the move to this new squad, is going to be the one to get the first knock. They VC Go also in the vicinity as well, looking to overextend out from the building, which is just to the northern side of the wall, and they're going to be able to just influence this fight a little bit more as well. One assist coming in for Kaina.
Yeah, but still no wipe. So you're just able to back away from that one a little bit. And I think that's just mainly because you are worried about the other teams that are in the area that could clean you up. But it looks like Miles is just going to be able to get away here. You can see Aku escaping, and he's going to dash away to maybe see if he can get the rest of the team back up on their feet. Just going to have to, where do you go to actually get the res here? Lightning Rod does have the ability to craft, so it's probably going to be heading over towards Lightning Rod and then hoping you can bring your team back in. But by doing that, you're all going to be one of the latest teams to arrive, and then you're going to have to fight your way back into the POI again.
Yeah,
check back in with 10K.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because even if you're wrapping to the north, you know a lot of teams are going to be trying to approach from the north because of the basis of where this zone is going to be. So actually threading the needle, so to speak, to get through those teams, to even get to a crafter to be able to get those banners. It's going to be a little bit of a rough one for them, but 10K using that trident to move to the hillside. They're going to be able to kind of work their way up the left-hand side where the majority of the cover is on this hillside. So that's what you would imagine their next rotate is going to be here on Storm Point. But while they do that, they're going to do a little bit of exterminating and a little bit of pest control here on the spiders.
I think they were getting shot by Reply Totem as well. That was why they quickly exited the trident and didn't really fancy taking that one. We'll just have a look towards Alliance and see how their job's going, but they're going to be more than happy just looting over towards Northpad, getting any extra information and any extra Evo as well. So no true worry for them at the moment, unless FaZe Clan continue on their rotation on the western side, because at the moment,
recovering that banner. And now that you're seeing a lot of teams start to stack up in and around this hillside area outside of command center, there's going to be a lot of different scouts and 30-30s that are ringing out in the area. And if you overextend, we know how strong especially the 30-30 can be at the moment when it comes to damage output. If you get hit by a couple of bullets, it's pretty much going to be GG for you. You're going to have to go and get res, which is exactly what Vushi is trying to do right now. So they get the banner, they might be able to hit the res here as we see GG. Of course, with Funk coming over from North America to join Blast and Light. And a new lineup. They take the cannon up to the northern side of the map here. And they look like they're going to try and wrap here to the north, which is going to be pretty busy when they get towards the wall later on.
New lineup, new legend as well. Of course, we did see Sparrow last week in Pro League, and there certainly were plenty of picks. And it looks like there's 6 of them in this lobby. So just having the recon abilities and a very powerful ultimate means that we're going to see plenty of Sparrow today, which I always think is exciting. When we see a new legend added, I'm always wondering, like, how are they going to fit into the meta? Of course, with legend bans being prominent now, it's always more likely a new legend is going to be appearing, but even in game 1, 6 Sparrows means that, yeah, we're going to see plenty of him today.
SJP2 trying to make their way up the eastern side of the map at the moment and taking a little bit of damage on their way forward as well. It's actually going to be Denze, who looks like he might be one of the last alive here, as actually Nate's going to win a fight to make this a little bit more interesting. SJP2 do have Querny down. And I think this eastern side is going to be very busy, but the lateness of this wrap is going to be tough for everyone to make it in towards the zone, but the Devo is going to certainly help out this situation. And now Asete is going to be the last one alive. We'll be able to stick the res here. Uh-oh. Couple of grenades coming in. Skynades aren't going to quite connect, so gets one back to the feet, but there's going to be Denze with a swing now. P20 is going to be able to break the shields. There is an advantage here in the HP for the Sparrow on your screen.
Gets bamboozled.
But now you're going to see the swing, the double swing coming in from SJP2. Nephilim will be eliminated. Nate is down. They're going to have to collect that. Banner will be able to do so to try and get him back, but there's a third party from height trying to do some damage to influence this as well.
Nothing worse than getting bamboozled as well, especially nowadays. It just gives so much to the opposition team, and yeah, as soon as they've been able to hit that, it was going to be a comfortable cleanup for them. So we see our first team actually wiped out of the competition here in match 1. Of course, we saw Forbidden earlier get a full res back at Lightning Rod. One of the key differences, I guess, from well, there's a lot of difference between ranked and ALGS, but you can go and respawn your team very easily, whereas in ranked, if you try and respawn, usually there's someone running at you, or there could be someone in that area, whereas you can see the majority of teams have already found themselves towards this end zone, as the zone is going to shift a little bit further south here, which fantastic news for those teams who are moving from the south, because it gives them a better opportunity at finding a spot.
Yeah, I think it's you can read by where these teams are stacked up at the moment that most people have red zone 2 wrong. Essentially, they thought it was pulling up towards, I have to say I was as well, towards maybe inside of wall or just to the north, where BPR had set up very early on. Remember, they had priority over at the wall and they had ring console, so that's where they believed that the zone was going to be going, but it is pulling slightly down to the south. Now, doesn't mean the BPR are in a bad spot here. They can hold out a lot of these teams who have to leave wall, but for teams like Reply Totem, Stay Healthy, Onic, who are playing outside of Command Center now, it becomes a much, much better spot for them in this late game.
10k just on the north. It's bad news for them, as they're going to have to traverse through the entirety of wall. I mean, sometimes if you can't go under it, you've got to go over it. That's what I learned when I was about 7. There was a song at camp. I can't remember what song it was. Anyway, yeah, they're going to have to continue on their move, and Ash will help that. So it is going to be at least good that they have G-Dolphin playing the Ash, because they can maybe port past. You just got to time it correctly, really, here, because otherwise you don't want to get caught up in the mix of things.
So it's going to be one of these zones now. I think this zone pool is going to eliminate a lot of teams from the lobby. Like we mentioned, pulling down to the south, where a lot of people thought it was going to the north. Catwall's going to go down here from post kill. He's going to have to be very good on where that's angled, though. So it looks like they're going to try and weave, and he does manage to cut off the building, but there's some great grenades coming in, which is actually going to slow things down. Post kill goes down to about 10 HP, avoids the thermite that comes down as well, but she's looking like a really rough rotate here for 10k, but they're somewhat making it work. The survivability seems to be the name of the game for them right now.
Yeah, they just need post kill to get off this med pack, and then they can actually try and push this fight. It looks like they are going to try and get quite aggressive. G-Dolphin has a Evo, and it looks pretty well equipped, so he can start to get aggressive with the rest of the team here.
Yeah, Devo is going to have to wind this one up, though. It doesn't have the purple attachments to get that automatic turbocharge on it. That's going to be maybe for the late game. But he is going to be able to get a lot of damage down with this devotion if he gets the opportunity to. Instead, it looks like they're just going to force this bottom floor, and they'll be holding this.
I guess they don't have information yet, perhaps. Maybe they don't know the zone's going to be heading south, so right now they think they've done the job. They've got into the zone, and they just start to think about next, and they'll get that information in about 2 seconds when round 2 does close. You can see good shots coming out, though, and Unlucky will take down post kill, so now they're going to have to just try and flee here.
Yeah, Unlucky showing the power of the Devo. We've seen a lot of teams taking time to construct a Devo for one of their players, using multiple energy arsenals on the way forward to make sure that at least one of them can have an impact on the map. And it seems like you can see from some of the clips we showed from Alliance earlier that Unlucky has been the guy who's the beneficiary of his teammates making sure that he gets the Devo to play with. Team Nemesis taking a little bit of damage themselves at the moment, having to play outside of this building in the wall. Alliance are very, very close to them. We're also going to see a little bit of a greedy snare coming in, but the portal away is going to give them a little bit of space here as they reinforce the door as well. They will be able to survive and they will be able to reset.
I mean, that is a fantastic play from Nemesis. If you look at it, you kind of are blindly hoping that your Ash is going to put you in a good position, but then the quick reinforcement just secures their position for now, as Forbidden are just going to be on this southern side. So remember, they rezzed all the way up at Lightning Rod, but when this zone shifted down south, it kind of benefited them a little bit. 0-0 trying to put this Bojack to full use here.
Yeah, not quite connecting as yet, and now leaves himself in no man's land. Has to be very, very careful. Aurora now gonna firstly destroy a Void Nexus, and then they're gonna take a Void Passage here. You can see Aku's trying to cut them down. Good damage, but the Void Nexus will take 9 Impulse away. This is, of course, a very, very different looking Aurora lineup to what we are used to historically, with two, I would say, changes that have come in recent times. But Forbidden are going to have to move in about a second's time, and only one of these teams you feel like is going to be able to survive.
Yeah, this zone is going to start to hurt a lot. Z10 are going to get chased down as well. Remember, Z10 had such a good week. Last week, being able to top leaderboards, but looks like they might be falling a little bit earlier in match one at the moment. 2 of them have been taken out, but Aurora can now maybe benefit from that as they continue on their journey as well.
A bit of a blind fire through this cat wall here. All of this happening on the southern side, where everyone is going to have to move through. Denze in the feed as well. He's got a devotion in his hands. He's starting to do a little bit of work. SJP2 trying to move to this waterfall here to try and get just safe inside of the zone. We know that Aurora were just underneath them a few moments ago, as UAIM will be the next team to fall out of this lobby. We've lost 2 now, so it was a 19-team lobby, remember, so now we're down to 17.
Yeah, down to 17, but there's still a few teams that are going to have to be forced into engagement here with this zone starting to push, especially on this southern side. Aurora, SJP2, Forbidden, and Zero Tenacity all are going to be in the next kind of area with each other. And you can see everyone's trying to find the extra little bit of damage, the extra kill that can come through as mine get eliminated as well.
SJP2 will be safe on this height, but how exposed will they be? Will they be able to back down? It looks like they will be good enough. So Aurora are going to be very, very careful here on how they play these next few moments. 10K just been eliminated as well as we hop on board with Alliance, and here he's unlucky, and that Devo is all sorts of turbocharged, but it's a great hold. Actually coming in from Nemesis here, and now Effect has to clean up these pieces. He's only going to be last alive. The spray is going to be good, but it's not good enough. And Hakis is going to have to try and clean up the mess.
Well, usually where there is an unlucky, there's an Effect to follow and clean things up. But Hackers now, it is a mess.
Wow.
And Alliance will be eliminated, and that is not usually the Alliance we see. But I think there's just so many teams in the area dealing damage at the moment. It's very difficult to try and do anything in open air.
I think it's just a great hold from Nemesis as well. The output damage is fantastic from them. Aurora now going to be trading out as Kazak uses his port to go up to height, taking that position away from SJP2, who you can see have moved in. Denze's down to barely any shields. It might be a 1v1 in a few moments time, but Kazak now is going to have to play this one out, as we'll see the Ash portal away. Maybe thinking about a res here. There were a couple of knocks being traded, so he might have time to do exactly that. Kazak, though, he's going to put the port down and might be adding his teammate out of there.
And SJP2 back up to a full 3, back up to dealing damage. Second place at the moment with 6 points as Aurora lose 1 confirmed. But maybe they can get that res if they try and escape through that portal. You can now see that Onyx are holding out Zip right now.
Yeah, this is a difficult swing to make for Zip. SJP2 going back after the final pieces of Aurora here. There's going to be one. There's going to be some spiders getting involved as well. One last player alive somewhere or other for Aurora has managed to make somewhat of a great escape. Not sure where they have gone. Finally, they will be found. Aurora will be eliminated as SJP2 continue to move forward. Team Nemesis, who we saw fight Alliance, they've just been eliminated as we go back to Onyx, who are trying to hold this whole time and will be able to do so.
Yeah, but now they fall. Zipline actually did really well to be able to push out and get 2 knocks. Zipline actually did really well to be able to push out and get 2 knocks, and it means that both teams will actually fall, and probably inevitable with where the zone was closing in anyway. But SJP2 have to move up a little bit and try and find some extra space here from this southeast side. Forbidden is still alive on the south as well. FaZe Clan now starting to move in.
This is a big play coming in from FaZe Clan. Zane's going to fly in with a scout. Not sure if he knew that he had that weapon as he went into the portal and came out with it. So it's going to be FaZe Clan who are eliminated as we now find ourselves down to 8 teams. As Baba G are going to be on our screens right now as one of those 8.
One of the only teams on this far northwest side as well. They have a lot of space to play with, a lot of room to work with. Their only real concern is going to be BPR as VCG will get eliminated. So now 7 squads are remaining. And actually, they're going to be able to just walk up and use these rocks to maybe shadow over some of these teams and put down some real damage.
We'll have to walk in though. You can see it. Yeah, maybe he's gone down from someone just to... They'll have to where they found their position. The teams who are inside the zone though, stay healthy, have been here for so long. There's a solo from Forbidden still alive inside the zone. Zero Tenacity have a duo, I believe, as SJP2 now make their play against BPR. They's gonna wind up that devotion from the sling, do some great damage. It's gonna be BPR who are eliminated. SJP2 stay healthy enough as well to stay as a 3.
That's gonna be good news for Baba G, but you can see, oh no! Now the Devo is gonna be absolutely shredding through, and that's why you have a ballistic on your team.
So sling weapon doing a huge amount of damage here, and he's going to try and use the fact that they still now taking both the high ground and the middle of the building as we find ourselves now with 3 squads remaining. Flight Totem trying to find an angle, and this might be a very, very healthy looking cook nade for them as the thermite will go in. They try and catwall off the northern side of the zone here, stay healthy, and they might have done a really good job in doing so.
Can Reply Totem just avoid this fight for long enough? It looks like yes, because now, yes, the wall is down, but SJP2 will be taking the fight.
Yeah, one thing, the Devo might make a difference here as well, because you can fire so rapidly through that wall. Armorswell going to be picked up here by Densei that they left for themselves a few seconds ago. Still 3 squads remaining, but unfortunately it looks like Stay Healthy won't be healthy for much longer, as Mizuku will go down. Reply Totem, who have controlled this high ground for such a long time here, Dan, surely in prime to win this one.
You think so, but remember, there are still ults that can change things. Big Tether coming through, but the Mirage ult is going to come out very shortly as well, but they've done so much damage here.
Shex does a great job, by the way, just to stay alive in that situation, doesn't over-peak. Reply Totem still up on this high ground, still looking to pick up these final players, still looking for KP. Stay Healthy eliminated. Kraber out here, now you can hit the shots, goes for the no-scope, won't be able to connect, and now he's on his own. Now he hits the no-scope when it really matters, and Reply Totem will be your winners here of game number 1 on Storm Point.
Wow, Reply Totem, after making a team change as well, find themselves at the top of the leaderboards. Shex, the new addition on crypto. They get the job done, and they weren't just on top of the leaderboard. They were on top of that building for quite some time. But I really love how they were trying to push the other teams into engagement. They forced the other team out of the building because they knew full well they could very much lose that game if the team climbed on them. So instead, they forced them down below, which would then force them out wide, and then they could utilize any abilities they had to make sure that the other two teams engaged first. I will say that SJP2 did very well at not fully committing to a fight and trying to take it to a 3v3 at the end. So they were also impressive with their second place, but Reply to them, take first.
Yeah, it's one of those situations as well where it's very easy to think because you have that position that it's just a guaranteed win. You over peak, you find someone peeking you with a Kraber. All of these things change things down, and you got to give a huge amount of credit to them. But for now, that's game number 1 done, and we are going to be taking a look at our results. It's Reply Totem with 19 points on the board, so 12 KP for them as well. It's a very, very solid start, but 14 for SJP2, Dan. That means they will actually come out of the lobby with the most points.
Yeah, right from the very start, SJP2 were getting involved in fights, and that means they do technically win this lobby. But between those two teams, they take the majority of the points. Everyone else pretty low down. I mean, Team Nemesis still finding 9 points as well, just through kills. So we are going to see that KP is going to be very important in this lobby just from game 1. And as you can see in the top right, Ash is going to be banned, as we had alluded to, because she was the most picked.
Yes, indeed. And you can see Ash in all of the compositions here. And it's Reply Totem as we take a look at our top 3 statistics, just seeing who had standout games. Denze, by the way, on SJP2. Remember the position they came from the southern side of that zone? Very impressive from them. 2.4k damage for Denze on his own and 5.852 for the entire team. So a lot of damage being put out by them.
Yeah, really just a game that was pretty hectic to begin with. And even as we got to the mid game, there were so many teams that were trying to force their way in from the south. And with the big shift from north to south with the zone, it meant that we had a lot of fights happening from high ground to low ground. And it was really tough for people to actually survive as a 3s. There was a lot of 2s kind of running around. So those who did get into zone early, those who did find a good position, were really able to capitalize there.
Well, game number 1 is done and dusted. Game number 2 is coming up just after this quick break. Well, I will use the time to decide, was it a Mirage clone? Am I an idiot? Or was it actually an Ash? We'll be back in just a few moments.
Being called a prodigy isn't easy. The pressure, the expectations. I'm just kidding. I was born for this. And yeah.
The future is here. Are you ready?
I've got endless determination, a lifetime of practice, and a total lack of media training.
Success, it don't come overnight. Just watch me put up a fight. Locked in, I'm feeling cold as ice.
Let's move.
I don't know how to slow down.
Found my target. Time to say ciao.
Doing work on a holdout. It's looking like it's a blowout.
More eyes on you means less on me.
Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top.
Sing it out.
The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny I've been.
I'm in the games, I'm on your screens, and now I'm on billboards? Oh, check this out. Que figata.
It's looking like it's a blowout. Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top.
Coming in hot.
The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny.
Later, champ.
Here I go. Do it again. Surprise. Woohoo! I didn't know I'd end up here, but I do know how it ends. I've heard losing builds character. Let me know how that goes.
Been waiting my whole life for this. Yeah. Been getting so right for this. Hey. Been waiting my whole life.
Hey ragazzi, we did it.
Pay attention.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ALGS Pro League. It's a mere time, and we've already got one game done and dusted on Storm Point. We're going to continue here on Storm Point in just a few moments as we head towards game number 2. But the great news for everybody is that we have Dia joining me for this cast. Dan is going to take a well-earned break and do what he has to do. Dia, what did you take away from game 1, and how excited, more importantly, are you for game 2, my friend?
I mean, I'm very excited. Partially, and I would say in large part because we get to be on the mic together, and that's just gonna be it's gonna be an exciting time. I don't know what's gonna happen. Things might get a little bit silly, as they certainly did last game. You asked me what I thought, and I couldn't help but agree with what you and Gaskin were talking about. That Totem really played this with an extraordinary amount of discipline. I was amazed at all the teams for the ways that they attempted to win, but the fact that ultimately it was Totem that came out on top was not an accident in any way. They played this very conservatively, and I couldn't help but laugh when I saw that Catch, who was being very conservative with his R99 sprays until then, had just had a full Kraber the entire time and was just waiting so he could hit the last no scopes.
It's one of those situations where it's like, we got this game 1. Wait, maybe we don't have it 1. Oh, maybe going for this Kraber shot might not be the best idea. Oh, it's my only idea. Okay, now I have to hit it. So shout out to Catch for this final moment. And we'll just let it play out, actually. We'll just let this play out because you'll get ready for the Kraber moment. You can see, he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I'm missing. It's like, oh, no, oh, God, now it needs to count. Oh, it's a 1v. Oh, okay, I'll just hit it now. Just we've all been there. Except for I would have missed the final shot and died and said, sorry, guys. That's on me.
I would definitely panic in that last moment and try and scope, and it would mess everything up. When I panic, I scope really hard, and it does not help me.
Stare into the cellular structure of your enemy before you pull the trigger. Well, it is going to be Reply Totem who get the win in game number 1, but like we mentioned, SJP2 actually came out of that game with the most points as we head into game number 2 now. Ash will be banned, and I'm interested to see always interested to see who is brought in to replace. Usually we see Wraith kind of filling that role for these teams here on Storm Point.
You know what I thought was absolutely wild? Like the craziest thing to happen in game number 1 is that we're on Storm Point game 1, 0 Newcastle picks. 19 teams, not a single Newcastle. What's going on there?
You reckon they're saving it for E-District? Everyone wants to get a couple of games of Newcastle on E-District?
I guess so. I mean, I suppose by that logic would be seeing a lot less Alter as well. So, you know, if the teams don't pick Alter this game, I think I'll give it to you.
It's the wonderful thing about commentary. We get to just say things and make you all believe that it's true. So that's what I'm going to be going with. Everybody is saving Newcastle for E-District.
Yes.
We'll have to see if that is the case and I look like a genius, or more than likely look like someone who is questioning that they don't know what they're doing. And that's just had confirmation, by the way, that it's probably more likely to be the second option, because it was indeed a Mirage clone in that first game that I thought
nice.
that they, you know, there was some gentlemanly conduct going on, but no, it was just a Mirage clone. Anyway, game number 2. I'm gonna go and have a word with myself about stepping my game up.
well, you can reconsider your life choices. We'll take a look at what
We don't have enough time for that, do you?
Yeah.
We do not have enough time for that.
One game of Apex is all it takes. Reply Totem starting off pretty well over at Mill. Something that has become a lot less prominent in the ALGS with the introduction of POI draft is this whole who's getting Mill, who's not getting Mill. We used to look at Mill and go, wow, you know, like with so much opportunity for loot, with so much good loot in terms of the amount of it as well, it's an incredibly powerful POI. But since we introduced the POI draft as well as Evo around the map, I mean, I'm still looking at Reply Totem and going, this is good, but it's not. You know, it's not dead center zone like Team Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the zone, by the way? It did pop up for us for just a second there, and yeah, we're going very similar, very similar for our map number 2. It looks like it is pulling almost exactly towards where the zone went on map number 1. Now, it does look ever so, if I'm going to be a brave betting man, I'm saying it looks ever so slightly more to the north here. So we could be pulling in towards wall, which wouldn't obviously be the same side, but we did see that vicious pull in the last game, and that might actually have a few teams questioning where they play. BPR is probably a good barometer for this. They tried to play that hillside house at the top of the zip line. This time they're going right to the backside of wall, and they are playing that building. So should give us a pretty good indication that they believe it's going to be pulling a little bit more further into the POI.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good bet, honestly, for BPR. It's likely, from my perspective, that we end in wall, but if you're a team that doesn't know, and I certainly don't, so if I were playing, I'd be certainly prioritizing the high can make use of on their rotation in.
We're over to Cascade Falls. We're seeing a little bit of action going down early on the Zipline Mafia, which is, I would say, one of the best names. I would love to be part of Zipline Mafia. Right?
Yeah, it's just a good name.
Italian food and zip lines, I'm all about it. Forbidden, they don't look like they're all about it right now because Team Nemesis are picking up some pretty easy damage and some pretty easy knocks for them. Extended out of the building, not the first time we've seen them do that in and around wall. A game number one that did something very, very similar. But this building here is going to be a very, very solid one to pull for the end game. It does pull sometimes down towards that. Forbidden have managed to escape. Look, as a solo again, managed to get into the top 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, from the last game. So it's certainly something that he is not, shall we say, foreign to having to do.
No, and you know, fortunately it's early enough in the game that maybe he doesn't have to do it again, or you know, you've got the chance to recover some banners. No support legend on this team. Again, no Newcastle at all for anyone. It's making me wonder what on earth is going on behind the scenes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They know that it's just so powerful later on. Very well could be.
They're saving it, I'm telling you.
We're banning Alter this game, by the way. That just to throw that out there. So Newcastle better than Alter on E-District, confirmed.
And there we go. We'll have to see if Newcastle is immediately picked in game number 4 today. 10k. Another tough zone for them. Dropping over at Barometer. They're going to have a long, long way to go towards this zone, but a very similar pattern of play for them. The macro is looking like it's exactly the same. Taking the Trident. This time not playing the left-hand side. Oh, yet. Although that might be changing in a few seconds' time. Instead, they're moving towards Cascade a little bit closer. Maybe looking to play outside of Command Center and work their way up through the spiders.
A couple of teams should be rotating through here. Funnily enough, Forbidden are one of them. Lufka going to be hightailing it out of there after being spotted by the survey beacon. But 10K's position is really weird if they don't want to fight somebody. I'm glad we're getting back in the Trident, because sitting low ground outside of Cascade with your entire back open, that is just not the game plan.
Yeah, that's a bit of a risky play. Maybe they thought they could rat someone, but instead they're not going to head up the majority of the hillside. They're actually going to wrap around where this zone is going to be going. Maybe look to enter the backside of wall a little bit later on. Reply Totem though, they're just going to be entering a fight right now, and Forbidden will be eliminated. So Lufka won't be able to be the hero this time around. He gets cut down inside a Cascade. They will be the first team to fall in the lobby.
It's a nice capitalization off the survey beacon scan as well. Something that Reply Totem should have an easier time with is this specific zone, especially because of how they played it just last game. Teams that are still up on high ground, however, that come out of places like Zoo Station, Lightning Rod, that are currently home to Mind, Zipline Mafia, and the Gaming Gladiators up on height. Those are definitely squads you want to keep in mind. Onyx have chosen to take the building that I talked about a little earlier, that's up on height right outside of wall, with the Assault Bin and the Evo right next to it, and that is another squad that I'm certainly going to nominate for team we should keep our eye on, because Onyx have played this pretty well, in my opinion.
Down on the southern side of the map at the moment, Nephilim nearly picked up, of course. Not taking their time to get towards the zone. They've got a long way to go, of course, so they're going to be kind of prioritizing information and Evo. And also destroying any stray arrows that have been left over by a Sparrow. State is going to be able to get that information as well if he wants. He's going to do it and be able to, alongside the Evo, get all of his team up to purple. And this is just going to be the long routes for them to get anywhere near this zone at the moment. As we take a look at Ring 1 closes on the map overhead here, and you can get a bit of a general idea of where this zone is going to be pulling now towards wall, we believe. However, from last game, I'm still kind of waiting with bated breath. No, we are going towards wall, so we've called it right. Look at us go.
Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. And BPR, most importantly, called it really right. They started in wall and immediately picked a really fantastic spot. Normally, you'll see these things sort of go awry. A team can very easily, in a zone like this, mispick where they want to go, even when they have zone prior. So BPR setting themselves up in a good spot to meet that top 3 expectation that we always have when looking at what squad gets the zone pulled to them. A quick refocus onto Onyx, who had the high ground that we talked about earlier. But we'll get. I'll talk about the strats in a little while because we gotta fight.
Ooh, we got to fight. Kazakh is outputting a huge amount of damage as well. A beautiful spray with the R9. And it is good to see, I will say, the R99 back in the meta. It always just feels right when it comes to Apex Legends. Excuse, he's going to find one as well. 9 Impulse will find another. Denze is last alive, and he certainly is alone at this point. And he's got 3 members. There's nothing more terrifying than having 1 Aurora player chasing you, unless it's 3.
Where'd he go? Did he Mirage clone his way out of here? What's happening? Zipping up to the high ground. Zero Tenacity are in here as well. Aurora unable to reclaim the high ground. They're going to back away, but SJP2 not so lucky as to survive.
Great job from Aurora, by the way, to just disengage and find a little corner for them to all pop the electronics required to get back to that Void Nexus. So they will all survive, having done the job that they wanted, which was to win the fight. Zero Tenacity now going to head towards the north, towards Lightning Rod, which is going to be free. Although Nephilim are rotating it around, and there might be a little bit of a butting of the heads as they do land, as we take ourselves to a map overhead and kind of continue to see what Aurora are doing after winning that fight. They've now got to go through Replay Totem by the looks of things.
Seeming to be doing so quite well. Frying with the R9s today so far, and Aurora going to continue that trend, moving up towards the height on Cascade. It's just Andy Jax separated by that thin wall of ferro fluid that will get away from Aurora. 9 Impulse going to throw some shots behind them, but for right now, Aurora really focusing on the rotation that is ahead. They don't want to go up to command center too early and don't want to push into height. We saw them avoid that very same thing over at Stormcatcher. If Aurora don't have the advantage in a fight, they're not taking it.
We mentioned how Zero Tenacity, Zipline Mafia, and Nephilim might be all button heads. Well, you're seeing exactly that at the moment as everyone tries to play for this spider cave to make their rotate a little bit easier later on towards where this zone is going to be going. Zero Tenacity are up on height above them as well. Nephilim going to have to pull off some nifty moves at the moment, using the Void Passages just to survive, use those iframes to be invincible for those few extra seconds, and they have managed to reset here to find themselves in a position to be healthy enough to fight, but they have to fight moving forward, and GG are holding this line. They do have the fuse ult, but it's going to have to be very well placed, and they're taking damage from above, so these extra seconds that are being taken to pop these batteries means that GG is still in a great position to hold here.
Everybody has to be very careful, and while GG's position looks good, even they have to be worried about teams coming up from wall to third party this. A lot of squads would like to clear their backs, and it's going to start with nades. Oh lord, Nephilim going to manage to survive for just a little while longer. This zone not impossible to heal through just yet, although I'm expecting on the high ground Zipline Mafia to start making their way in via evac tower, so Nephilim have a lot less pressure at them coming from directly above.
Yeah, Zipline Mafia are going to have to make sure that they place that evac correctly. It is a little bit of a risky one, actually, playing it from the height towards wall. You can make it, but if you get it a little bit wrong and you pull the jets at just the wrong time, you are out of bounds for quite some time. So Nephilim, you can see they made the decision to disengage and wrap all the way round to the north, but now they're going to have Mind holding them out as well, who are still watching their back heavily. So even though they're going to be able to craft a med kit or two, it's going to be a really rough rotate for them. Alliance, they've made their way in towards zone as well. The north side, you can see they're going to be playing around those nut buildings. Inside, BPR still in that position as BCGO also in a great spot, as our team Nemesis. So it is going to be pulling down towards the southern side of wall by the looks of things. So BPR, once again, read the zone pretty well, but the fourth zone is the one that's really kind of thrown the spanner in the works, so to speak, for them.
I'm trying to make my mind up about 2 teams here. Alliance to the north and 10K to the west. What is good? What is bad about these spots? Alliance have a lot of flexibility. 10K have a late rotate that may keep them out of line of sight of a lot of other squads. But Aurora, surprise, they've got another fight. It's FaZe that are getting chewed up and spit out by 9 Impulse.
Yeah, this looks like the Aurora of old, right? It looks like the confidence is back. It looks like they're willing to take fights. And I think most importantly, when you're looking at the chemistry of a team in a fight, everybody is using the direction from 9 Impulse immediately and not really second guessing it, making the play based off it. So Aurora's chemistry looking very good at this point as they pick up some more KP.
Do have Zero Tenacity right at their heels again. These two squads mirroring each other all game. And up towards the north, Zipline, Mafia, Mind, and Game and Gladiators all in the same corner. Zipline, Mafia gonna have to move in. This zone no longer out-healable. So Fit will have to find the best way to get them into zone. Gonna be challenged with another portal. I don't know if Zipline Mafia make it out of this one on set.
I don't know about that portal, especially when you got unlucky at the other end of it from Alliance, taking all of the space that he can. Well, it's a little bit of a rough one. But I mean, when you were looking at the rotate earlier on as well, you always thought this was going to be very, very busy. By the way, Feuda going a little bit crazy by the looks of things in the feed. He's got a Kraber, and he's starting to put that to work as well. Mind now, they're under pressure, and they will be taken out as well. So Mind, who were holding out the northern side for quite some time, they kind of get run over in that situation. Zipline Mafia, they managed to find one, but the rest of Alliance is starting to arrive now, and you can see the Wraith is the last player alive here trying to pop a battery. Aurora also starting to go a little bit crazy in our kill feed.
Surely Fit gets taken down here. Wraith has definitely been spotted on the way down, but Gaming Gladiators, very wary of Alliance, aren't going to try and over push anything. Instead, Blasts playing things safe, playing for the small kills they were able to pick up. Aurora suffering another loss in the kill feed. And Wall is starting to break out into flames. Aurora have made their way in, but it's not everyone.
Zipline Mafia, their story will end in this game, as will Nephilim. Everybody who tried to make that northern rotate around that spider tunnel is falling, as FaZe will also fall. So no top 10 for them in this game. Onyx Esports at the moment on your screen. Up on this high ground, we'll have to move in a few moments' time as the zone starts to close in around a minute's time, but they do have an opportunity with this vantage point to try and pick out where they want to play.
This is where Onyx really earned their money. They had a nice flexible spot earlier, but now what do you turn that into? Not a lot of space on the outside of Wall is open, and Onyx is going to have to eliminate teams like Zero Tenacity stay healthy and Baba G, and well, Zero Tenacity go down, so that's one less.
Might be an opportunity for them to take advantage of this fight that's actually breaking out. Instead, they do actually have
no way
a Void Nexus down, which has been found by Kizaran, who flies forward, finds that space to play, and they will be able to take this bridge spot. Now, the timing of a rotate like that, dear, is always interesting to talk about, because it's one of those that if you go too early, it can be a little bit risky. You get shot from multiple angles, but if you play it perfectly, then you can find a spot to play. Alliance looking to force their way in now. We'll come back to that point in a minute, because we've got an opportunity to jump into the comms here with Alliance.
You have medkits?
Let's go for it.
Come.
W1.
Yeah.
Let's just go though. I'm gonna EMP the building just so we can take it from here.
Sure. You can just walk up, bro.
The EMP is back, the EMP is back. Hey, all three left side, all three left side, all three left side.
You just have to walk it.
Just stay groove. He's gonna peek.
They're picking.
Oh, keep going. Yes. Nice. Just save it on move, save it on move.
Yeah, hiding. Hold.
Hold the spot first of all.
Hold cross.
Yeah, hold across.
Watch the scanners, okay? Yeah. Get the drones out if possible. I got one drone from inside, I think.
Yep. I have walls on them, Just hold across.
I'm gonna try to put the TP down, so okay?
Yep. Team on the outside here. I'm popping outside.
Hit this corner. TP is not safe, okay? It's just like a hard time B, whatever.
It's fine. Low ground.
Look for team inside. Look for kills inside.
Okay.
If I can be drop, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm dropping.
3, 2, 1.
I don't be on that door.
I'm picking up left.
Yeah, I'm netting inside.
Make you.
Okay, watch out, climb ups.
Yeah, I'm holding.
I'm king below to see.
Chill.
I have no bats, by the way. No bats.
Okay. They're still below, I got 3.
I only got 1.
They're still below.
Okay, I'll come back.
Dropping back.
I'm roof, guys.
Yeah. Take roof again. I wait for my MP.
I got the drone.
Yeah, can you scout through the
Free
eyes?
shot left.
Yeah, looking.
Come to one.
Dead.
I'm watching team inside.
Yeah, I know.
My drone is on the stairs.
Scan bullets here. You
I got full. Yeah, all dead, I think.
I got
fucked. I'm slow healing.
You need to scout with the air hackers below us.
Yeah, they're bottom, all the way bottom.
Maybe. I think solo effect. Solo my ping. Exactly behind this. Can you kill?
Unit.
Yep.
We got 40 seconds. 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So Dia, Alliance make their way in towards zone. They take the height and they take a few teams with them as well.
Yeah, they're very well played. I like the drone usage by Hackis, using it as an extra player to monitor one angle, the stairs that they could be swung on by. Aurora hitting a quick respawn though, gonna get 2 back in here. See what Nemesis has to say about that. Zuni's Kraber has been doing quite well for them so far. Looks like it may claim another as Game and Gladiators get jumped on immediately.
I mean, Nemesis has done such a good job from the early game of actually holding the space in and around their building. The R9 in this man's hands is different. different to everyone else. Everyone else uses an R99. Effect uses an R9099.
I'm getting flashbacks to his LAN debut, the I'm gonna one clip everyone voice line. Great stuff from Effect. That R9 leaving me mouth agape. Now let's see what he can turn it into later on in this game. Onyx still under the bridge. That is a huge need from Hackis, but Alliance are not going to pounce on it yet.
Alliance looking to move up. GG, BPR all gone as well. So two good zones for BPR. Not really able to make the most of those situations as Alliance. Well, we saw the rotate from Onyx a few moments ago to this bridge position, but now they've got to worry about Unlucky and, of course, Effect with those R9s in their hand. Onyx will be eliminated as the bow check and the R9s. What are these guys eating for breakfast? Because these R9s are not missing a bullet.
I mean, holding this spot for Alliance right now, it's a game-winning one. EMP could be huge here, but they're saving it. They're playing really conservatively to take out Nemesis, not expending any more than they have to. It's just constant pressure from Alliance, and now on the low ground, nobody can really peek Alliance. They've got the smallest spot to play, and for a team that's been playing very conservatively so far, I could easily see this turning into a win on set.
Yeah, Alliance actually will end up commanding the most space in this zone when it starts to close as well. Everybody else is stacked up upon each other. By the way, Aurora made their way into walls so beautifully in this game. And now up on the high ground of the only building that is left as one of the main structures to play from. So they have the height, they have the high ground. Also, they have a fusel here as well. And if you're thinking about endgame, if they could hold on to that fusel and wait for the perfect moment, that could be such a big influence on this endgame.
Wraith for Aurora could relocate them really quickly. You want to try and find a space that isn't in the sight lines of Alliance, something that Babaji have actually done very well so far. Alliance slide down, sending just Effect to cover this angle, and as it turns out, Effect is all you need, baby.
Yeah, Effect is all you really ever need in any situation. A lot of the time, he's going to be able to create something out of nothing. That, for him, a very, very simple job. He's got a great head glitch to play in. Well, we know how deadly he is with a weapon in his hands, regardless of what one it is. And the scout this time around is going to be the one to deal that damage. 4 squads remaining now. Alliance to full 3. You aim inside of the building, stay healthy as a duo, and Aurora as a full team will make up those 4. Alliance, like we mentioned, command the most space. But Max Strafey's got a Kraber, and he's looking to carve a hole for UAIM to lead this building.
I think they're going to be able to get these kills on the corner. That is Masuko down. UAIM don't want to overplay their hand right now, but they don't really have to. Just waiting for the death box to pop. Stay healthy are going to go down. UAIM make top 3. How much further can they climb?
Aurora will have to leave this high ground at the moment. And inside of the building, UAIM will have to leave as well. Now, what's the play going to be? You can see zipline starting to be put down. Alliance are trying to look for some kidnaps as well to bring one of those Aurora members down to the low ground with a crash.
I don't
there
think
is that
Aurora can do
fusel,
anything.
but the Watson gen is going to eat that up.
Aurora have to drop right now. This portal will take them to their deaths. Alliance know that they just have to monitor the exit right now. Responding Motherload. Alliance playing small for the moment, just letting this fight happen between UAIM and Aurora.
And now they start to influence it themselves. The fight is going to play out. Like you say, Aurora will be eliminated. They will be 3rd place. Alliance the most healthy. Hackers goes up to the high ground, sprays that R9, and Alliance will be the champions of game number 2. It is a masterful navigation towards that end game from them. And of course, it was deadly from the likes of Unlucky and Effect.
Crazy that we get to that end game and they've still got EMP too. That speaks volumes about what it actually took from Alliance to win this game. They always kept something else in their back pocket. That's how convincing it was from this squad that commanded the entirety of the stage.
Yeah, brilliant from Alliance. It's so fun to watch them sometimes because it's like you can watch the pieces being put together step by step, and it's very rare that you don't see the idea being executed. It's honestly, there's a reason they're one of the best teams in the world, and it's great when you get to see games like that to really give you that kind of visual, visceral experience of what they do and why they are so good.
Yeah, and very little pressure got applied to Alliance, and in large part that's because of the way that they were positioning. You and I talked about how difficult this zone can be to predict, especially when it looks like it's the second time we're getting the same zone. Instead, we go a lot further up to the north, and Wall changes everything. Alliance collect a lot of points, but they play in a position that keeps them from having to engage with multiple squads, and nobody really ever applies pressure back to Alliance. It's always them in the spot to push on other teams to the tune of 20 kill points.
Yeah, that's a lot of KP. That's the third of the lobby that gets claimed by Alliance. That is a monster 32 points for them. And we mentioned how last time they were playing in the Pro League, when they were in the last outing, they managed to bring home that first place. Well,
I get shivers. I get shivers thinking about it.
okay, well, you'd see, I mean, 10 kills, 8 kills, and, you know, 2.2k coming in for Effect, 1.6k coming in for Unlucky. Either of them end up in your team. If they're searching solo in ranked, you're going to have a good time. These are the series results, though, Dia. Alliance now on top with 35 points.
Really convincing game from them, and it does keep them a healthy margin ahead of a team like Reply Totem. SJP2, though, a team that I really want to highlight, coming up in third right now. They played a very aggressive game. It's followed up on what they showed us from match day 5. SJP2, their aggression during the first part of the split didn't really seem to benefit them all that much, but after the ALGS Open, I think this squad has really put a few pieces of their macro together in such a way that the aggression that they had is actually finding purchase on these very high-level teams.
Yeah, I think Alliance are playing like a team who's in second place at the moment and wants a little bit more space to be closed between Na'Vi at the top of the leaderboards. But yeah, looking very, very good here, Dia. They're looking like they are out for blood here.
Yeah, this team, this game, this match day could just be all Alliance all the time. But with this second match going so convincingly their way, it's time to find out if Game 3 goes that way after the break.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to introduce to you our newest legend, Sparrow. It's been a while since we've had a recon legend, and we wanted to bring one that offered a new, unique way of tracking enemies. He's also extremely agile, which allows him to excel at traversing the environment. Let's jump into his kit. For his passive, he has double jump. This allows him to have a second jump while he's in the air. He also has a unique ability called wall launch that allows him to quickly get to the top of walls by pressing jump while climbing. For the tactical, he has the tracker dart. This can be shot out on any surface and will reveal enemies that get within sight of it. Enemies that are revealed will have a trail that can be seen through walls, and will also have a marker that shows the distance the enemy is away from you. For the ultimate, we have the Stinger Bolt. This is a large arrow that will be shot out and planted into the ground. After a short charge up, it will pulse out blasts that will deal damage and slow any enemy within its range. Sparrow will be unlocked temporarily for free at the start of the season, so everyone will get a chance to play him, and he'll be yours to keep if you can beat a set of challenges. Jump in and try Sparrow in our newest season, Prodigy.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everybody. 2 matches already done here in the EMEA ALGS Pro League, and now we get, no surprise here, to head towards match number 3. It's going to be the last one on Storm Point. Dan, great to have you back. How was your break? Did you enjoy the game? Did you hydrate? What did you do? Tell me about your break.
I had some cereal. which I felt like I needed to get something, but I also was able to check in and see how that one. Surprised that Ulta was banned in match 2. I think that's disappointing because I wanted to see her on E-District. However, that's just how the cookie doth crumble sometimes. But a really impressive game from Alliance to put up a huge amount of kills as well. I mean, that's what Alliance are capable of, right? I think when you look at a lobby like this and you look at what Alliance have been able to do historically, when they have games like this, how is anyone supposed to compete?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a great point. You know, they're just winning every fight, barely missing a bullet, and everything they're trying to execute is executed to the T. In game number 1, we maybe saw a little bit of a misstep in that fight that we saw them trying to take to clean up some damage, and maybe that just locked them back in a little bit to recognize that it's not going to be the kind of lobby where you can just run through people and make those mistakes and get away with it. You have to make sure that everything is done perfectly, and in these final moments you could see exactly how they played it as well. You see the fuse ult going out, you see them responding themselves as with the fuse ult we just saw, from effects, and then they knew that they just had the most space in zone. They knew that the two teams, UAIM and Aurora, would have to fight between them, and again, it's just patience and experience on display here from all 3 players.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it was just a wake-up call in game 1 where they seemed to be pushing one by one and maybe were a little bit overconfident, but perhaps they just needed that little bit of a kick up the backside, because whatever happened, it worked as you look at their performance here in match number 2, because the amount of kills they dropped as well. A 20-kill game is insane, and that will hurtle them up the leaderboards. But now match 3 with both Ash and Ulta banned, this does change a little bit of things up in terms of your rotation and how you're going to be able to move across those gaps. Perhaps we'll see a few more wraiths in play with those 2 going.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a shame that we're not going to see Ulta on E-District, but we do know how strong she is as a legend. No surprise to see her banned kind of in the same sentence. So match number 3, no Ulta, no Ash, like you're saying. Maybe a little bit more Wraith we're going to see, even though we did see a fair bit of Wraith in the previous game, but the popularity might certainly be a contest that she's starting to win as we head towards match 4. Into the game then we go, and over to Northpad and Trident and Alliance, the winners of our game number 2, you would imagine, would have earned themselves a POV.
Interestingly, Crypto and Sparrow are going to be the 2 most picked legends here in match 3. So depending on who wins and what composition they have, it will be either Crypto or Sparrow banned going into E-District. I wouldn't expect Sparrow to be up there and to be banned, I'll be honest, but people really enjoying the abilities that he offers and the recon as well that goes alongside it. Although the most popular composition is going to be Fused Sparrow Wraith for this game. And we'll have to see how it bodes. Unlucky's going to be over onto the Pathfinder. Remember last week we did see Pathfinder get its first ban as well when we moved over to Broken Moon. So we'll have to see if more Pathfinder starts to pop up now.
Also, no Newcastle, interestingly, again, which is certainly, I will say, somewhat of a surprise to see. Not just the fact that we're not seeing a Newcastle ban, so to speak, but just the complete and utter lack of Newcastle. Nobody feeling confident with Newcastle as a pick here on Stormpoint.
Well, zone-wise, we're going to be heading down towards Dev Coast, so Gaming Gladiators are going to be delighted with that one as we move towards the southeast, and close to them is going to be Nephilim. And Zero Tenacity actually should be able to move pretty fast because they had a ring console at Coastal Camp as well. And then, of course, Zipline Mafia are going to have that rotation through the rocks that you see.
Launchpad also has a ring console, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, it's a survey beacon. Do they have a console that's been hidden? We'll find out in a few moments' time, but the amount of traffic that's going to be heading towards Devastated Coast should let them essentially find out that teams will be arriving and heading down towards Dev Coast. I think a lot of the teams down on the southern side will be thinking, thank goodness, considering that we've essentially had 2 zones that are pulling up towards the very central north area of the map at the wall. So for them, it's a much, much better position to be in. And Dev Coast is one of those as well, where if it does pull that way, you have that very kind of prestigious high ground building that's sort of suspended above the entire POI. If you can get that and hold it down, you almost guarantee yourself a top 5 position should the zone continue to pull that way.
Yeah, interestingly, Gaming Gladiators have a ring console and they've continued to move a little bit further northwest. So either they haven't hit it yet because they were just amidst their looting, so they don't really know, or they were thinking it was going to go a little bit further north, and maybe it's the...
I think they got fused in the comp, so they would have got...
Yeah, they needed the blue before they could even get it. Okay, so they didn't know yet, but now they're going to have still priority. I mean, there's teams that are moving on the southern side that are going to try and get there first, but they should be okay.
Well, 10K. I found a little Totem Esports, and a single P20 is not the best of guns, I would say, here for Kashira, but it's going to be a gun that can still output damage. As post kill is going to have to do even more than that, as G-Dolph has gone down, but I tell you what, the single P20 does enough damage. It's actually going to get 2. And hey, what do I know? Single P20 still does the business here, even with the 2 times on. Kishera keeping it freaky out here.
I felt the struggles of a single P20 when we were playing yesterday. It can be very nerve-wracking when you can't just spam both of them and you actually have to aim a little bit, but still does the job for 10k, and they will get the wipe. And I think they needed that for their confidence to go into this next one. They just needed to win a big fight and start to move on their rotation through the map now. As GG, you can see they have just traversed a little bit further south, but they have now realized Zero Tenacity have got there as well, but they have got to that ultimate high ground that you were speaking of.
Yeah, this is a building supported by a large crane, and it is pretty much a guaranteed placement point if you can hold it down and the zone continues to pull right down towards the southern side, because it's very difficult to access. Only a couple of zip lines. I'm not even sure if an Ultra Q can get up there from below, because due to the elevation that this particular building does find itself with. So maybe some Pathfinders might be thinking about assaulting, but should be a place that they'll be able to hold down for quite some time. Only 1 times here on the 30-30, which is, again, can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, especially if you're playing for the long game from that kind of a position.
And remember, Alta and Ash both banned, so like even if you could get up there, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be in this one. So
yeah, no Alta, my bad.
You really are going to have to look toward the Pathfinder. There are a few of them in the lobby, but at the same time, a bit of a risk. It's not the ease of an Ash Portal or an Ultra Q. Instead, you're going to really hope that you survive on the zip line, but with so many teams, just not really going to happen here. So GG, I think we'll have to keep periodically checking in with them just to make sure that they are not under any duress, but I think they're going to be alive for quite some time here.
Yeah, it would be a mistake, I think, from GG, should they have that position taken away from them. So GG in a really good spot. Aurora moving through Echo HQ right now. BPR going through Pylon as we take a look a little bit further away from the zone towards Mind. And Team Nemesis, who are on your screen right now, who might be running into Mind in a few moments' time as the 2 teams converge onto Launchpad. But Team Nemesis, it's strange to kind of talk about them, because they're in 4th place overall at the moment, but they've done so well, I would say, in Stay Healthy. We've just been eliminated, by the way, our first team out of the lobby. They've done so well to command space around the buildings they were playing early, but it was when it got to that sort of top 10 and maybe even the top 5 that they just fell away a little bit. So just that endgame management, something to keep an eye on with them.
Most of the teams have already found their way to Dev Coast, and they should be able to comfortably hold their angles for now. I think it's really going to start to kick off when the late arrivals try and force their way in. There is one thing about Dev Coast, is that even though there's not loads of buildings, there is quite a bit of playable space because there's a lot of coverage as well. So you can kind of force your way in, but with the lack of Newcastle, you really have to be mindful of where you're going to be positioning yourself so you don't get from another angle. And I still am surprised with the lack of Newcastle, but I guess, with recent changes and how people are playing the game, maybe they just don't feel like it's viable anymore.
Well, the EMP is going to be good from Kishera, I believe, although was the drone just destroyed on the last second? Instead, we are going to certainly know that there's going to be a mother load coming their way as a response to try and slow down this push. It's going to be Nephilim who are the team who are holding them out for now. 10k already up to full purple, by the way. Looks like Postkill has decided that alongside his teammates, we're going to take the Trident instead. Although, all of a sudden, it's let's just get out of here, because there's a zip line going down that looks a little bit rushed from post-kill. The Trident is going to mean that Kishera goes down. I'm not quite sure what's going on here for 10k. It looks like the communication is kind of all over the place.
They've literally got you lost for words. Just
full panic.
What is happening? But they eventually will escape, as there is plenty of action happening down towards Dev Coast. You can see Forbidden, or soon to be Mouths, of course. A couple of game attack changes already happened. Did you already mention that in game 2? You might have. I missed it, but looking forward to them and their new endeavors.
Well, Forbidden on your screen right now, they are going to be in a really good spot for the long game here, just because of the fact that they do have Catalyst in this composition as well, so they'll be able to reinforce some of those doors even if they do get destroyed. Aurora, who made it towards that end game into the top 3. Unfortunately, when you get to a top 3 position, ending up top 3 is always a little bit disappointing. Or should I say in 3rd place overall. Now, they don't have the Catalyst in the composition here, which means that holding these doors is going to be very, very difficult. They cannot reconstruct them. They cannot reinforce them. So the natural cover that they provide has been eliminated. Going to have to rely just on some brute force And some good angles for them to hold themselves out. Now, other teams trying to move in. By the way, Postskill's just been taken down as well for 10K, who looked a bit panicked a few moments ago and continue to look a little bit panicked here. Still alive, but actually trying to escape via coastal camp at the moment as Nephilim move in a little bit closer towards his zone, but still quite a way away. They've got FaZe Clan up on the high ground here, which is going to be maybe a little bit of a worry for them as they try to rotate. But Dan, Nephilim in a pretty good spot here, but they're going to have to move to Echo HQ pretty quickly, I would say.
Pretty quickly indeed. A lot of teams are going to have to move fast. Otherwise, you're going to start to get caught up by the chasing pack. Can always happen with the late rotators. If you've not moved fast enough, you end up getting sandwiched, and you really are not going to want to be in that spot because it's so difficult to try and escape out of. Sometimes you can go back on yourself and really try and force that engagement, and then you pick up some KP. But yeah, you don't want to find yourself in that position too much.
Well, fight going down between VCGO and Mind here, I believe. The EMP will go down, which is going to stun VCGO. And also the Stinger Bolt's going to go down. That's the ultimate from the Sparrow, which if they're inside of that vicinity is going to pulse away and deal out damage. Also, ballistic ults being popped, everything being thrown at this fight at the moment. It's going to be VCGO who get that first knock and stay healthy. And now for Mind, it's a 3v2 situation where they're not going to be able to push. They're going to have to pull out of this.
No, please, no. That's what they're going to be thinking as the P20s arrive, and he's going to have plenty of help as VCGO are looking to just try and clean up the pieces here. And even though this is being delayed, I think the inevitable is going to happen. VCGO will get the eliminations and Mind get eliminated from this competition, but now here comes Alliance. It took a little bit too long.
EMP, Motherload, VCGO, it might be RIP for you because Alliance are moving in and Lucky's got himself a Devo as well. You imagine he's going to try and grapple up to this high ground? That's exactly what he's going to try and do. Unfortunately, I was going to say maybe unfortunately, the grapple not quite what he wanted, but the climb good enough.
It's an interesting position that Alliance is going to be taking here from the southeast as well, because when you traverse across that water, you are in a lot of like open ground and you can very much get focused by teams. But elsewhere, there is some action here. Nephilim have taken down one already.
Yeah, this is in Pylon at the moment. This is very, very isolated. It's Baba G who are on the other side of this fight. And Jans is going to have to use his pull to try and get his teammate back onto his feet. We'll be able to, by the looks of things, get his teammate back. He's going to have to hold for now. Now, Lyfin's going to actually go for the res in this situation, but he's going to have to watch the push. Knucklebuster will go down. That might slow this push. It's a little bit shaky on both sides at the moment. Jans is the last alive. He has a Devo, but that thing isn't turbocharged. Going to try and play behind the knock potentially, or is he going to try and just clutch here? He swings in with a Devo. He can't manage to clutch though, and it will be Nephilim who are finally eliminated.
Sometimes you do just want to dive on in with a devotion and see how things go, but sadly, two players just made it a little bit too difficult.
I experienced that yesterday playing with you.
Hey, as long as I have teammates up, I'll just do the damage and hope that it gets cleaned up. And usually, you did clean it up, so that's all that matters.
Usually, I'll take usually. Yeah, that's good.
Usually is close enough. 10K are going to be very much outside the zone. You can see on the northwestern side there, that is quite a bit of a journey for them. But mostly everyone else has found themselves down towards the southeast side here. There is going to be a lot of commotion happening though on the western side, because you can look at like Forbidden, Gaming Gladiators, Aurora, Zipline, like they are all going to be fighting one another as they move towards Dev Coast. And still at the very tippy top, you've got GG, SJP2 and VCGO in Devastated Coast.
Yeah, GG is still going to be safe inside this next zone, but you can see with that slight ring pull that they will have to move from that extreme high ground a little bit closer to the zone later on. Alliance will be in a great spot, and like you mentioned, you know, now they completely own this side of zone as well. Nobody is really close to them, and their walking will be free. All the traffic is on the other side of zone, which means that everyone's going to take care of each other. Alliance might be in a really good position here to go back to back,
which would just put them in such a commanding position going into the last three. And we know how good Alliance can be on E-District too. Could this be one of those weeks where Alliance just absolutely demolish the competition? And I mean, if they haven't already, even more solidify their spot.
That small signpost just almost completely ruined Zane's day with that zipline. So now it gets taken down to barely any shields, and now Zane is going to have to do a huge damage output, but FaZe just get run over. That just didn't look good from any POV you watch from FaZe.
Yeah, sadly, I think the small delay in the zip not getting placed in the right position may have cost them there. It's sometimes these minor things, it can be the difference maker, but sadly, they will fall. And in 15th place, only on 9 points, they're going to have to look to E-District to really try and find a way back into this series.
Zero tenacity. You can see what the problem is for a lot of these teams right now who aren't in zone already. They're just trying to force their way in, and BCGO will be able to comfortably hold here. Nono's being respawned at the same time. Zero tenacity, last team to go down. Bubba G looking to force their way in and win their fight. Zone will do a lot of damage here to BPR, but they are now under duress themselves. Bubba G down to 2, but should, I was going to say, be comfortable enough to get the res, but now they're going to get jumped on.
Yeah, Forbidden are going to be pushing in. And they are going to be able to comfortably clean that one up as well. And you can see they just pushed us at 2. 0-0 is still going to be up and waiting for the rest of the team to join him. And they can just make sure they loot up as well. GG still going to be looking down from above here. But as you mentioned, they are going to have to move. And it's about where they go to. There is going to be one building just to their kind of southeast that is slightly in, but then won't be in again. I would say SJP2 now become favorites for this game because they control the majority of this island.
So SJP2 going to get some good loot as well by the looks of things, and the shots coming out from Kearney are good enough to force any team back at the moment. Aurora's still alive, by the way, and will be safe inside of this next zone. As we take a look at 10K, who have done a really good job actually of managing to reset to get into this top 10. Remember, they were all over the place when we last checked in with them, but Team Nemesis now forcing them back from one of these fingers underneath that bridge structure that a lot of teams we know have already taken up vicinity in, and post-kill will fall and be finished by Lufka.
So Nemesis just trying to decide which way they want to try and go here, because it seems like there's trouble no matter which direction they take. As we check back in with Mouse, oh sorry, Forbidden, soon to be Mouse. And again, they're playing the 2-1 split, which I don't hate. You just really need to be prepared to drop if you are 0-0 here. And okay, yeah, I like it now. You start to regroup as more teams begin to arrive.
10 squads remaining, then half the lobby has been dealt with. Aki with red shields as well. Thanks to that red helmet, he would have been able to find somewhere on this map. 10K still alive, by the way. Kashera is trying to do everything he can alongside G-Dolph as a duo to find a few more extra points. Forbidden now have to move their way towards zone. They're going to use the cat wall just to create a little bit of separation between them and the team that's just to their left. And on this little building, they will, excuse me, this little platform, they will be safe. Gaming Gladiators have just been eliminated, by the way. Zipline Mafia have gone. And for GG, that's really frustrating, considering the prio they had to this zone.
Yeah, but SJP2, remember, they have one of the best positions as well over towards the island, but they are starting to get joined. And Alliance have taken position at just the right time. This has happened time and time again in this matchup, where as soon as someone moves up, Alliance are just waiting in the wings to swoop on in and take one of the better positions.
And this is the danger of giving Alliance a free walk-in. As soon as fights happen in front of them, they can just move forward. They can take those fights. Denze being a problem, though. Jiggling and wiggling on that zip line to take the attention away, and now Alliance are down to 2.
Yeah, SJP2 have actually been somehow able to get away with this one. Unlucky does have a very much amped up Evo here. They're ready to try and shred, and he's doing so much from a distance.
Yeah, no more ammo, though. That's the only problem here for him. He's not on the ballistic. He doesn't have a ballistic in the composition as well to give him that infinite ammo in the ultimate. So now it's just the 30-30 for Unlucky, so he has to back up here.
And Forbidden now will take their opportunity to push in as well. So SJP2 are going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place, which will give Alliance a chance to somewhat reset here. But the real question is, can they get all 3 of them back up, as Forbidden will take full advantage and SJP2 gets sandwiched.
By the way, Unlucky's still doing damage in the feed by the looks of things, even with that 30-30.
It looks like they reset as well.
Aurora eliminated in the meantime. 5 squads now remaining. Aki with 4 kills to his name in this game as well. He does have some ammo to work with in that devotion, but it's not going to be automatically turbocharged. Doesn't have that purple barrel stabilizer as yet. 10K finally eliminated, but to be fair, to get into the top 5 from what looked like an absolute shambles of a game, I think they would have taken that.
Yeah, that'll give them a couple of extra points, but again, it's not really enough to be putting them up the leaderboards at the moment. Now, Alliance will be down to 2. Is there a chance maybe for a banner and a res? It looks like it could happen for Alliance, but UAIM are going to start to make their move from the northwest as well. Just past Nemesis here. That's their main worry at the moment.
I think this rock is going to be in, so this head glitch is going to be really, really good for them to play in the late game, and they control the entirety of the northern side. Alliance, like you say, are just a duo. Nemesis a full 3, and Forbidden a full 3 as well. I think Nemesis might actually be down to just a duo themselves. It's going to be Remix Powers and Zuni here at the last alive. So only two teams who are full here as UAIM will make the play onto Alliance's position here and try and take it away.
Do they know Alliance are there? Hackis is right there. They don't know Alliance are there. He's in his crypto drone, right? So he's just invisible at the moment.
Well. The last time we saw Hackis doing this, he got a second place, and that was on land. Obviously, some slight nerfs the last time that we saw to crypto.
Look for the shimmer.
But always look for the iPad shimmer or other surfaces that are available.
Well, everyone else, though, just kind of sizing each other up at the moment.
How split lines are.
Not only is Hackis alive, but Alliance is also, Unlucky, excuse me, has also found himself on the high ground. I still wouldn't put it out of the realms of possibility of Alliance winning this game, by the way. That's how good they are.
I agree with you. Forbidden, though, they are in a very, very good spot. Nemesis are going to be close enough to them. I think the call probably from Hackis to Unlucky, who's now up on that high ground, is find some KP. Everyone's going to have to leave these buildings pretty soon. You have the height, and you have a Devo as well, which I'm pretty sure he managed to, when we saw him leading box, would have been able to find, if not ammo, then certainly a switch to an R99 or something similar to output some damage. So Forbidden are going to have to make this move right now. They know that Nemesis are in front of them. They're trying to spray through the cat wall, but Nemesis now make their play. Unlucky is trying to influence that fight, as you can see from the height.
Hackis is pretty close to where the zone's going to be going as well. As you can see, Unlucky does get the first knock. Job done from the first hound that was sent out, and he could just keep going back up and be a nuisance here. And now suddenly you've already found a top 3.
Gets the armor swap as well, gets back up to the high ground. That Q reset's going to be so important for him off those knocks. So Hackis also finds himself a kill, by the way, in Alliance. Even as a 2, are just being an absolute nuisance in this lobby. Hackis will jump into his drone, will be invisible as he pops his battery as well. And Alliance are just giving the lobby a runaround at the moment.
Hackis did find himself within the zone, but now he comes out of it to help. And Alliance are still going.
They're back together, and now it's all Unlucky left on his own, but I wonder if it's going to be too much for him to do. 50 HP in a dream, but Dan, what have Alliance just done to the lobby?
He still found an armor swap here. This is still doable.
Ah, it's what? What? All right, everybody. Okay. That is disgusting from Unlucky and Hackis. Absolutely filthy.
Well. You know, sometimes when you just think that something could happen, but you're like, well, it's not really going to happen, is it? But perfectly played. You could tell the communication was on point between... They were on an entirely different journey. You know, you've got Hackis who's just trying to maneuver his way around the map, go invisible, feed information to Unlucky, but also as he came out of his invisibility cloak, like Harry Potter, was just making sure that he dealt damage at the same time. A little like Expecto Patronus. No, that doesn't deal damage. We need a different spell. Anyway, but he was making sure that Unlucky had the info to try and like position himself as the Pathfinder, but when they were able to get together, then they dealt even more damage as well. But then Hackis was always thinking about, all right, but now I need to get back into my cloak, now I need to get back into a position. But it was Unlucky just having a field day dealing damage as the Pathfinder. Yeah, it really was just one of those situations, Mark, where Alliance were able to pick up so many points that really just... The rest of the lobby shouldn't have allowed that to happen, but when you saw Unlucky in a position like that, you called it yourself. You said it's inevitable here that he can pick up KP, but I didn't think they would also find a victory alongside it. Forbidden will still take second place and will take 19 points as well, which will be a fantastic game for them. But Dia, you were able to watch that one. I mean, wow. That was something special, wasn't it?
I screamed like a child at the end. That was such a crazy end game. Alliance very deservedly moved themselves up to almost double the points of second place. It is very nearly, but I'm going to go ahead and give that one to them because after having won that game, Onset, Alliance, if they didn't look unstoppable before, the fact they can beat you with 2 out of 3 is pretty crazy. I don't know. This series is very quickly spiraling out of control, although I will say that one of the better things is that we're going to be changing things up and maybe taking some of that away from Alliance, because now in our Newcastle-less games, Gaskin, we will be starting to make the change over to E-District, and maybe that gives somebody else a fighting chance.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Newcastle not being seen at all. Crypto now banned because Crypto was in Alliance's composition. Sparrow was not. They were tied. So that means we'll see more Sparrow as we move into E-District as well. I was surprised how much Sparrow we're seeing, but at the same time, he does have a very important kit for you, and we can see just how important recon characters are, especially on Stormpoint with some of those engagements that were happening. So yeah, big fun game, but now I'm excited for E-District to come around.
Yeah, that's gonna be very, very soon. I am looking forward to E-District, especially because, I mean, you brought this up during the game, this whole Newcastle-less thing that's been going on. I'm wondering what the thought process is for a lot of our teams, because the really only thing that I can see having interrupted this is more teams playing Sparrow and Sparrow having negative interactions with Newcastle, if anything.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, or just people aren't playing as much Newcastle in general in scrims, and I don't know. I'm trying to stretch. I just think that there's so much more available for you in people's kits at the moment than Newcastle, and especially when it comes to Stormpoint, I just think that the information is just a little bit more handy rather than playing on the more defensive side with the Newcastle, because are you going to be able to reset as often as you would like when a lot of the times you're going to see a lot of these teams are just kind of retreating and rezzing back up rather than trying to play the game with, oh, I'm going to revive through the knockdown shield, but then by that time you've got like Sparrow information that's coming on you, people know where you are, they take you down, and then you're completely out of the game. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious how that'll change, if at all, when we go over to E-District. But before we do that, let's take a look at our interview, because we've actually got Nasky coming in. I'm really excited to talk to Nasky, especially given what we just saw in that last end game.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Nasky, King, welcome. This is
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
A crazy game for you to come in after. Did you get to catch the end of it? I know we have like weird things with the delay and what you're able to see.
Well, the delay made me only see like the last 2 minutes, I think, but it was pretty amazing while I lucky did. Can't lie, that looked good.
Yeah. You got the most important part, I think. I actually wanted to because it's the first time that we have you on air since the whole team change thing, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on with your team swap to Ronin recently, because you obviously had to deal with a lot of stress to find yourself in this position. How are you liking the non-IGL spot right now? Is it something you see as, temporary, or do you think that this role is appealing and it's more the direction that you want to be taking things in?
Dude, the no IGLing is the game is so easy when you're not IGLing. Holy, I actually can't fathom how people can even die when you're not IGLing. It's the easiest game in the whole fucking world. Sorry, pardon my language. Anyway, I want to say it's temporary, but I don't know. I kind of how it stands right now is that MG is a fairly new IGL. He's doing a great job, and I'm kind of like helping him like outside of the game. But at the same time, inside of the game, I'll ask him like provocative questions to get him thinking, right? So in a sense, I'm still like, I still have that influence, right? But yeah, I mean, I like no IGLing for a change. It's nice. I mean, I never intended to be an IGL. I ended up just being an IGL way back when because there was no one else that like no one else did it. So I just, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I like it.
I mean, it's been looking really good. I'm enjoying watching you try something new out, and also Ronin definitely benefiting from having you on the squad. Now, Gaskin, it's time for one of my favorite sections. It's hot takes. And Nasky, because you are the honored guest, I want to offer this slot up to you. Do you have a hot take to present us with for the very first one of the day?
All right, a hot take. Pro League should not allow any roster changes unless it's like an actual medical emergency or whatever, like, but you need proof for that then even. Like, no roster changes. It's so silly. No other games that does stuff like this. I mean, it shouldn't be a thing. Why the hell are like top teams switching out? Like players don't even know who to root for, man. You got orgs switching in and out, like you got teams switching in and out. Like, what? Come on, man. Like, don't allow it. And then if anything, you make the Pro League season a little shorter or something like that, right? And then roster mania between seasons. I don't care, but just not during, man. Like, what the hell is this? It's so unprofessional.
It's funny hearing you say that because of also the recent stress that I knew you had to undergo pulling together a team. I heard you say that. I was like, oh yeah. Gaskin, do you have a hot take for us?
Yeah, I have a hot take. Roster changes should not be allowed throughout Pro League because it's just causing far too much stress. I'm going to double down and agree with Nasky. But do I have an actual hot take? No, my actual hot take would be the hot takes ended when this whole bottle was consumed by Zephyr live on broadcast, and I really struggled to see how anyone is ever going to top that. I did ask, should I down this myself? And then I realized I'm not crazy. So there we are. That's my hot take. I think Zephyr is a little bit insane.
And it's true, and I will say to Zephyr's credit, tactically he got to do that and then take a break. You're gonna be on the whole day. We got you on the show. Please don't down the whole bottle of hot sauce. I am curious though what your hot takes are, because we've been asking in the chat what's going on with you guys, what you're thinking behind the scenes. That's going to be it for our hot takes segment here on broadcast, though. Go ahead and send us yours as we keep keeping up with what chat thinks throughout the day. Gaskin and Nasky, it is time for us now to start thinking about what's been on the minds of so far. We had a couple of questions about this, Nasky, earlier on, but it was how 10K are going to work together, especially with the pickup of G-Dolph. It looks like that hasn't been going nearly so well, as at least according to the audience, things are not looking good behind the scenes. The comms aren't matching up, and I wanted to ask you about this, Nasky. When you're integrating somebody new into the squad, how can you go about this best, and what do you think of the G-Dolph pickup onto 10K?
Well, the pickup with Dolphin was, I mean, it's odd to say the least. I mean, Kashira and Postkill have historically always picked up like some sort of controller fragger. The good thing about picking up someone like Dolphin is that he's experienced. He's been on many teams. He's played the game for a long time. He knows about the game, blah, 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 which means it should be an easy plug and play, right? That's how it usually is with an experienced person. Like, they'll know like what to look for. Like they'll just know that it'll come second nature for them. But yeah, I don't. The team was doing good in scrims. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were getting pretty consistent placements, but it just doesn't look like a scary team in my eyes. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a permanent thing. I think that's what Kashira tweeted, right? But I might be wrong.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. I don't think he really gave a direction one way or another, but things maybe not looking so permanent because G-Dolph does tend to jump around squads quite a bit. Very curious where this will go. However, for something perhaps a little bit lighter, a little bit less dependent on what team is doing what, we do have chat starting to chip in on what's going on with Mirage. Actually feeling pretty good, at least when I'm playing him in ranked, but we aren't seeing him that much in comp. Gaskin, do you have any guesses? I mean, we're not even seeing Newcastle today, so I'll hit you before I hit Nasky with this.
I mean, firstly, production missed a beat not having Mirage here. We've got Bloodhound, but that's something that we can discuss later. I'm just joking, by the way. Very much joking. Please don't fire me. Mirage not being played, I think just his kit is a little bit more selfish. It's not necessarily a kit that can help your team as much as others. And yes, it is a great kit. And yes, you can be able to choose between all the different abilities, and you can be able to change if you want to do recon, if you want to do scans, if you want to get what, blah, blah. But in the dying moments, in those moments where you want to try and traverse from point A to point B, or you're in that final circle, he's a little bit more selfish and less helpful. Whereas a lot of these compositions we're seeing from teams, I think, is just more about helping your team with those certain legends.
Now, our last What does chat think is actually going to be a little bit different, because it's an important context to what's going on today. A lot of you will have picked up on the fact that when we're cutting to Forbidden, we're alternating between calling them Forbidden and calling them Bows, and that's because literally an hour before we went, not even an hour before we went live, they got signed. So Mouse or Mouse are now going by that name as opposed to Forbidden, which they were going by before, as they have been signed for the upcoming mid-season playoffs. A really exciting opportunity for them, and Nasky, you know the benefits of having an org, especially as you approach international competition, are very high.
Sorry, I'm gonna need you to repeat that one. So too many voices.
It's okay. It's okay. I hear them too. I hear them too. I was just.
I'm not schizo. I swear. I'm not schizo. I swear.
Well, on those denials, unfortunately, we're gonna have to say goodbye. So we'll have to get you in an interview a little bit later because we got more games to play. Nasky, thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your stream.
Thank you very much. Can I say one final thing?
Yes.
I just want to say tomorrow when we play, I hope chat is still moaning for Ronin all the way through, and hopefully we take the dub. I need to hear that shit through the chat, okay? That's it.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. There's a good salute, a crazy hashtag to go along with that, Gask.
I mean, it's something that's becoming very popular with the Ronin fans, and for good reason. I just want to see it get to LAN so that we can hear it in the audience as well. But as you alluded to, match 4 is underway, or is about to be underway, dear, as we move over towards E District. And we will lose Crypto, which personally I'm quite happy about. It means we might see a little bit more Sparrow going into this one, but of course, compositions are going to change a lot because it's a very different map.
Yeah, I mean, now without Alter as well, since she was banned off the second game, I find myself wondering what on earth we're going to get. I know that Catalyst is going to be popular because Catalyst was already popular on Stormpoint, but I'm still wondering, is this going to change now with Newcastle being introduced? Are we going to get more controllers? Because we're seeing a lot more Watson than we were in previous weeks as well.
Yeah, I think certainly with the district, there being more buildings, you do look towards the more defensive legends to try and secure and lock down those buildings and make it difficult for anyone to siege. But also on the flip side, you might try and play legends that can siege a building a little bit better, but we have already lost some of those with Ash and with Alter already disappearing. But we can look at the POI draft and how it went down. Alliance was the first team to prioritize E-District when it came to the picks. Everyone else was kind of looking towards Stormpoint instead. So Alliance at Lotus is definitely going to be a key watch for us here, dear.
Yeah, if you're able to lock in Lotus early, that is just so good. And I know that we talked about E-District, at least at the Open, as being one of the maps that you could be more flexible on. A lot of teams were learning it at the time. A lot of teams were trying to piece things together. But now that we are heavily past the halfway point in Split 1, the time for learning E-District is starting to be put behind us. For a lot of teams, including Alliance, you've got this dialed in, and that means that you can make the most out of your POIs, especially when you're able to select them as early as Alliance did.
Yeah, I think if you haven't found your way into E-District yet, like if you haven't learned it yet, I'd be asking, what have you been doing? Because I mean, you've been able to play it enough, you've been having so many scrims, it's been in enough tournaments by now. Why, yes, it's the newest, but at the same time, you just should have been able to have that much practice. So I would expect most teams to kind of know it like the back of their hands and be able to play this one at their very best. But Alliance definitely the team to look out for, not just because they're at the top of the leaderboards, but also they had priority in this draft when they focused on E-District.
And also because of whatever happened last game. Whatever happened. Yeah.
Just to give the audience like an idea of what happened, Mark actually pulled the cables out of his PC. He got that excited, and that was why we didn't hear him towards the end of it, because it was that insane. And you know, Mark, when he sees insane Apex Legends, he does get a little bit excited.
Yeah, that's the best part, is the genuine physical response to what's going on in the game. And there's going to be a pretty big response to this zone pull, as right now Onyx sitting over at City Hall. It does seem like, however, Gaskin, the little fairy in my ear, telling me that we're going to have to change some things up for this game, because it was not cooked properly.
You have fairies in your ear. So first, Naski's hearing voices. Now you have fairies in your ear. I'm really concerned with what's happening on this show today. Everyone's hearing things that I'm apparently not. But yeah, that is going to be a match restart. Just one of the players, maybe something isn't quite right. But that means we can talk more about this POI draft. I think that as we've looked through, as things have changed, as we've added more maps to the ALGS, what teams are now starting to realize is which maps they prioritize for their draft and where they think they can pick up points, but also which maps have better POIs in general. And I think E-District across the board is a little bit more even where you're dropping. You're still going to get good loot. You're still going to have a good rotation towards zone as well, depending on where it is. Whereas, you know, Storm Point can be very unforgiving if you find yourself in a difficult POI. So I think that's why most people focus towards Storm Point, but that's all well and good, dear. So many people prioritize Storm Point and then still put like awful amounts of points on the board. So now you really need to dig deep here on E-District.
And E-District, very complex map to dig deep on because it is so bunkerable. There are so many squads that are not going to be finished off like we saw match 3 finished off, or at least I'd imagine. Let's take a look back at match 3 because this end game was a total reversal of fortunes for Alliance, who had missed out on one player coming into the end game. No more Effect, and that's after what Effect did in game 2.
Yeah, they actually pushed up onto SJP2 early on in the game, and Effect just kind of got caught out a little bit, but Hackis was in his invisibility cloak with Crypto, decided to send Unlucky and unleash him amongst the carnage that was this final circle at Dev Coast. And Unlucky was able to put on a show for us, just dealing damage left, right, and center. But all the meanwhile, Hackis was going through his own journey as well, constantly being able to dip in and out of invisibility, provide extra information as well to Unlucky so that Unlucky could then swing on by. All the meanwhile, the likes of Forbidden and SJP2 were also fighting each other. That was a huge kill, by the way, from Hackis. But then Unlucky to do this and to be able to not only find a shield to work with, but also then have the confidence to push into this fight and win it for Alliance. I mean, this is why you have a player like Unlucky on your team, dear.
Moments like that, my lord. I mean, looking at that as well, I do want to give Hackis some credit. We don't think of Crypto as being a very high mechanical legend, but being able to pull off the small little tech of throwing the drone out, popping the bat before you go invisible, it actually did him a huge favor when it came out to finding the critical kill to set Unlucky up to win the game. So I know, you know, we think of Crypto as a very hands-off legend, but Hackis is getting in there.
A very minimal thing as well is he was also repositioning himself to the final circle in case he wasn't spotted out or in case he didn't have to go back into invisibility or come out of it. It was really well played from him. If you actually analyzed it, I think it was so important what he was doing. I know that all the kind of headlines will be about Unlucky getting those kills and flying around as Pathfinder, but Hackis was doing a fantastic job there as Crypto as well. And got Crypto banned, essentially, because if they hadn't won that game, Sparrow might have got taken away. So he played that well. We can't even see any more Crypto.
It's true. This was a pretty crazy turnaround, and it is nice to see teams, people, players, IGLs who are perhaps learning a little bit more about the game, what they want to look like in Pro League, be able to watch this and start to determine some of their own play style. If you are one of those players who's looking at the games here in the ALGS and going, I wonder what I would be like, I wonder how that would work, you can register for the Challenger Circuit, the pathway into the ALGS Pro League. Challenger Circuit number 4 is coming up, so you're going to want to register for that over at battlefy.com/ALGS. Challenger Circuit, a very exciting place to be, a very different place to be, Gaskin. It is a lot of heavy fighting, especially as you go through the early rounds, but once you're able to make it to finals consistently, teams and players individually start getting picked up for Pro League, for Open.
Oh yeah, you get put through the ringers down in the Challenger Circuit, that's for sure. But we've already seen our Challenger to Champion story, remember when Go Next, and they were able to provide that journey all the way, all the grinding they did back in the day in Challenger Circuits, and then finding themselves literally as world champions, which is pretty insane story, and I will always go back at it because it just shows that anyone can do it if you put enough time into it and you have the skill to go alongside it as well. But it looks like this game is getting locked in, so we should get it shortly underway. Have you ever competed in like a Challenger Circuit? I know that when we had the Open, Onset played a little bit. Have you ever tried your luck in any competitive Apex Legends?
I have not for lack of wanting to. I will add, not for lack of wanting to. I would very much like to compete in maybe the BLGS if we get it again this year. I don't know, but BLGS, Challenger Circuit kind of stuff seems exciting.
I think that you would do pretty well. I think that actually we need to make a
I don't
team.
think
Maybe.
that's true.
No, actually, yeah, I take it back. I was trying to be nice, but you would do terribly. No, I'm joking. Even that's mean. I can't lie either way. You do average. Is that better?
Thank you.
Yeah, we go.
I think doing average. I would strive to do average. I mean, you've seen how I play. I play like a scared little baby most of the time. A scared little baby who knows how to read zones, but a scared little baby.
See, and if you were invisible as a crypto, what? See, then suddenly maybe it's just all about legend selection, which is going to be key going into match 4 here, because I'm curious who is going to get banned here, dear, because you saw, we had no Newcastle, for example, hasn't been played at all. Sparrow was up there as almost banned in match 3. Are we going to see even more Sparrow going into E-District here, or are we going to see another legend rise to the top?
I mean, I'm really liking the fact that teams are comfortable on Sparrow now, because the legend does provide a crazy amount of utility, and on top of that, if you are somebody who is typically on crypto, now with that pick taken away, I'm looking at you, Hackis. What are you going to do on Sparrow with the insane amount of mobility that this legend gets and playmaking potential that's unlike any other recon legend we have in the game?
Just to say as well, yeah, it will be Sparrow getting banned. 12 Sparrows here on E-District. And I think when you look at this map and what Sparrow can offer as well with the tracking dart, you can fire that into some buildings. You can get some great information. And also, don't get me started on the ultimate, how integral that could be to a fight towards the end game as well. So Sparrow will be banned for match 5, but it means we're going to get plenty of the new legend on our screen here in match 4. And as you mentioned, Hackis does lose crypto, but now gains something a little bit different, and it is going to be another recon legend as well.
And it makes me curious, now that we've taken crypto off the board and we're going to be taking Sparrow off the board, what does that mean for future games? Are we going to continue running recon legends? Will we see a lot of teams just move over to things like the Pathfinder? No, Alter's no longer available if you want to try and get some survey beacon scans on the way in, or is that just going to become a thing of the past for the last 2 matches? A lot still to be played and a big game left on the table, as this time it will be Team Nemesis that get the zone pulling over to them at draft point. Babaji actually very close over an energy bank, and I don't mind the positioning of 10K either. A team that I'm still very focused on with their comms and what they're going to be able to cobble together.
Also, the first Newcastle will be picked. You'll be glad to know, dear, is that Newcastle is very much alive with 1 pick. Alongside Valkyrie, you mentioned Recon Legends and who might be stepping up to the plate. Valkyrie being included here as well. But zone-wise, we're going to be heading down towards draft point. Now, this means the energy bank is going to be very much the center of attention of teams rotating through from the north. So if you can find one of those choke points, you might be able to hold off other teams. But speaking of holding off, dear, hold off those thoughts, because it looks like we are going to be restarting this one once more. So still some issues, sadly, for some of the players. So appreciate everyone bearing with us at home, but of course we will get this one sorted as quick as possible. That means, dear, we won't be going to draft point. We will instead be going somewhere else. Maybe.
Very true, very true. Maybe. We don't know. We don't have the script, but it's an educated guess. I think there was one too many Newcastles in that lobby. In the break we were talking about the Mirage, because we had some audience questions about why we aren't seeing Mirage nearly so much. And well, quite a few teams did actually pull that legend out. I wish we saw a little bit more Lifeline. I remember Aurora was playing very well on Lifeline back when we had the whole care package thing in her ult. Still a lot of potential with this pick.
Yeah, I just think that the meta that we're currently in, not only with the TTK, but also with people really wanting to finish kills fast, because is there an altar in the lobby? Are they going to be able to portal back and get away? Are they going to be able to escape with an Ash portal examples? So you really finish the downs as quick as possible, meaning that it's unlikely you're going to be able to get a lifeline and Newcastle to be able to pick those up as well. So also can happen with like the gun meta changing a little bit, with R99s coming back into the fray. The 30-30 is still very important as well, so you can take down someone from a distance. But yeah, I just don't think we're in as much of a reset meta, and that probably is down to the time in which people are winning these fights. So that's probably why we're not seeing as much Newcastle or as much Lifeline.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Begrudgingly, I'll admit it makes sense. And I'm curious how the meta has already shifted with this split, with this past LAN, and how it'll continue to shift as we look towards the mid-season playoffs. Let's take a look back at how different, how fun things were over in New Orleans for the Open.
It's been nearly 4 months since we all came together. With Year 5 well underway, we now find ourselves here in the Big Easy for the first massive, big, colossal LAN of the season.
Nice little hold, only up to stay naughty from LG. The P20, he lets them ring.
Here, Ammo, Soten.
Should have been an easy wipe. Should have been FWG with the hold.
And with the Ash Portal on top of it, now it's really up to Kimchi.
But Chaotic moves in, he'll find two. He collapses on the damage. Chaotic's gonna swing.
Flying away. Go in, okay. Right this one, right this one. Identify
From Timmy, as NRG look for money. It's 150 with the Kraber. Twisted mind, deleted Imperial Howl. DKG answer back, but Falcon drops down again. His Eva is monstrous.
Often up by giving all the attention to is very hard. And now Kurem does exactly that. He's swinging with the charge up rampage.
Whichever one wins will get through.
Rejects the G7 hit fire shots.
Sykes is the last alive, does what he can for Envy, but it's not enough. It's Alliance who will close out game number 1 here on Broken Moon.
And they put up a huge amount of points.
Glory Man, he'll come through the catwalk with the PK and the P20s. And it will be GHS Boom who win your match number 2 here.
Alliance have officially hit match point with 50 points after 3 games. Koipo manages to come up. The piercing spike putting in the pressure. And Shopify.
Falcons are back up to 3 though. They get the raise. It's now Falcons' chance. As Falcons hit match point. Falcons up on the high ground. Is this the moment that this squad was put together for? Alcazia down. Falcons rising. Falcons champions. From the most insane elimination bracket run. And will be crowned your ALGS Open champions.
They have soared to ascendancy here in New Orleans, and they have that magic moment that they were built for. And quite rightly, Waltzy gets the chance as he will get to lift his first ever ALGS trophy.
Wild times back in New Orleans, and they're likely going to get even more wild as we approach the mid-season playoffs, Gaskin, because this time it won't be an open, it will just be the teams that have ground it through the Pro League so far who make it into the mid-season and get to strut their stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, if Falcons can do that in an open through a grueling couple of days where they had to battle through an elimination bracket, can they really take control at the mid-season playoffs? That is going to be my real question, because now they have that taste of success. Is anyone going to be able to take it away from them? Because when we look at historically teams like this, once they get that first trophy, the rest seem to follow. Now we can take a look at the POI draft that I was mentioning a little bit earlier as well. Alliance taking Lotus, but everyone else really focused on Stormpoint. I guess the next team that had priority to this one would have been Zero Tenacity taking Heights. Certainly if the zone does shift to that eastern side, Heights can be a very commanding position indeed. But otherwise, yeah, I'm excited when E-District does get underway. Of course, apologies for everyone waiting on a couple of players that sadly did disconnect, so we had to get things restarted just for competitive integrity, and I'm glad we can get it restarted, so thanks for bearing with us.
It is nice to be able to make sure that our players actually get to perform the best they can. And speaking of some of our top performers, Unlucky Effect, I think, will come as no surprises as being players rather that are on the forefront of the lobby right now. I think what may surprise a few people is SJP2 coming up right behind them. It's Nate and Denze, who in terms of damage today are 3rd and 4th across the lobby. 3.5k for Nate, 3.4k for Denze. SJP2, despite not having picked up a win just yet, are picking up a lot of kills and damage on the way.
Kills and damage, very important, and that's why we're also seeing a lot of Ballistic in this lobby as well. 11 picks, so just under the 12 of Sparrow, so just confirmation it is going to be Sparrow banned for match 5 as well. No one changed their legend on us as we requeued to make things just even more awkward for us, but loads of Ballistic, and for good reason. I've actually been prioritizing playing a lot of Ballistic in ranked recently just to kind of really see how powerful he is, especially with the devotion in the way it is right now with the gun meta. He can be such an integral part to your team, and that's why we're seeing so many of them, but just not quite enough to pip Sparrow. But perhaps Ballistic could be the legend that gets banned in match 5.
Yeah, it's funny, as a Rampart enthusiast myself, noting how over the past couple of patches, it's actually Ballistic that benefits disproportionately from LMGs. When we talk about the Rampage, when we talk about the Devo, these are things that, you know, Rampart it loves LMGs, but Ballistic actually gets to use them at full power.
It's kind of crazy if you just kind of pop that ultimate and let your Ballistic go off. He can, even if you go down, I mean, just the amount of damage you can output with the Devo in the current state. And we are seeing other teams making sure they prioritize getting an amped up Devo, kind of utilizing the arsenals with one another to make sure that someone gets a Devo with purples so that you can have someone on your team even if you don't have a Ballistic as well. So all these different methods that people are trying to find a way to get the best guns as possible. But zone-wise, providing that this game does carry on, which let's hope, fingers crossed, toes crossed, we're going to be heading up towards the northwest, up towards City Hall.
This is like we've re-rolled game one, because this actually, or game one, the first iteration of this, Onyx get the zone back in a weird way. Alliance pretty easy rotate. Reply Totem already making their way in as well. And if you are a team that's rotating very quickly into zone, it will mean that you have a little bit less Evo to work with. So you're likely prioritizing things like the 30-30 and the G7 to get a little bit more damage and thus Evo for the late game.
Yeah, the 30-30 is just disgusting in the moment as well. And I think it's certainly going to be up there with kind of damage done, and maybe if not kills, because a lot of those kills might not be finished, for example, but certainly damage done and knocks, as we're starting to see already a few engagements happening down towards draft point. 10k have already lost G-Dolphin.
G-Dolph caught in the middle of like 3 different lines of fire. That looked extraordinarily uncomfortable. Kashera, to his credit, will be able to get out, but the fight far from done, as 10k may have left, but there are still 2 more teams here who are looking straight at each other. Stay healthy and mind, looking to take an engagement.
My dad just asked me, by the way, he just texted me saying, why do I keep calling you dear? Like dear. As it like an endearing way of calling you dear.
That's cute.
That's funny. Sorry, I just wanted to say that because that made me chuckle and it caught me off guard a little bit. Thanks, Dad.
I like that. And I don't mind. Just
yeah, actually, I am calling him dear. He's not dear. That's just the kind of friendship that we have.
It's the kind of friendship I like to cultivate. It's very nice, very sweet, very supportive, much like Team Nemesis of each other, all holding hands, walking through this building. They keep each other safe, and now have a building to play that could actually do them quite well into the later stages of this game if they're able to hold on to it. Catalyst should let this be a lot safer than it looks like it is for Zuni right now.
Yeah, struggling a little bit. They were on the back foot, but it looks like they have been able to retreat. But it is a literal war zone at the moment in any of these like major POIs that are traversing from kind of southeast to northwest, as everyone's trying to fire their way through and find somewhere to at least call home at the moment. And really a lot of fights that are happening, but not any wipes that are going down that we've seen much of so far. So teams are at least able to kind of escape and maybe just be able to move forward to the next passage of play.
Pulling that rotation off on foot. An even better spot for Team Nemesis was grabbed seemingly for free. Just not enough teams in here to actually deny the rotation. Much as Onyx wished that there were. 10k making a big recovery though, as G-Dolph will come back into the game. I say that. We may be saying goodbye to him very shortly, as Nephilim are coming up right behind this, and already Skynades to see if they can find a little bit of purchase on the health bars of 10k.
Yeah, they didn't really get any damage there, so it's going to be tough for them to push in on it. And it looks like 10k are going to be okay for now. So still 19 squads remain, no squad eliminated. As a reminder, it is a 19 squad lobby, has been since the very start. And everyone has now been able to somewhat find somewhere to call home, and they can calmly reside next to each other, but some of those neighbors are a little bit more uncomfortable than others.
Kazakh making the risky play. I think we'll get back up to safety, as he didn't get cracked or immediately taken down. But even now, things getting a little risky, as he's not got the safety of the Wraith anymore. Kazakh on the low ground, surviving for the moment, as Aurora tried desperately to cover their Wraith. I think Kazakh's gonna get back into this one and bring the team with him.
Quick thinking from Kazakh just to try and reposition with the Wraith as we check in with Alliance and their journey on in. And it looks like they want to take on Reply Totem here. Alliance are sometimes ruthless with their aggression.
Unlucky's gotten enough damage now to be able to push in. Forces out the defensive mother load, and that means Alliance can take their time. Creative climb around the outside. Gets Unlucky the best angle to fry Totem alive. Catch gonna be the last one alive in the corner, and Reply Totem are gone. As soon as Alliance decided this team was going out, their fate was sealed.
And you see the benefit of knowing the map well as well. Unlucky knowing exactly how he was going to clamber up to that next building. I think your more average Apex Legends player may have not tried that play or may have even failed that clamber. A pretty easy one when you watch Unlucky do it, but that he just knows this map so comfortably now, as most of these players should.
Yeah, it's an instinctual movement for Alliance and for a lot of our teams that do put in that extra effort. Next zone going to be pulling us a little bit further towards the south, and so a team like Alliance, and especially a team like SJP2, will need that intimate knowledge of the map to make their way safely down further south in City Hall.
Yeah, they'll be one of just like, what, 4, 5 teams that are outside zone right now. Everyone else has really found themselves somewhere to play. FaZe Clan are going to be a team on the north that could maybe cause a little bit of a ruckus on the northern side, as Alliance is still causing... They're going again. They just want to kill people. Just stop. Just let people play the game, Alliance.
It's a nice building you have there. Sure would be a shame if Alliance were to rock up on it. Hackett's on the high ground right now. Looks like he owns the building. Should be charging rent on the inside. Alliance do have SJP2 looking over this though, so got to be careful. Even as they get these first 2 knocks, Hackett jumps onto the outside of the building. You aim, go down. And Alliance managed to reset with just enough time to keep SJP2 at bay. That was a very tight turnaround for them.
Alliance play competitive Apex Legends like some people play ranked, and it is terrifying to be going up against them, because sometimes you think, all right, we've got a building, no one's really going to push us and risk this. No, Alliance know that they can take down a team that quickly that a third party can't even arrive on time. The Alliance gas is well and truly a premium here, because they have deserved it with how they're playing right now.
BCGO with the evac tower could get out of here, but they're worried about being shot off the evac by squads like Mind that are around them right now. Jumping up onto the high ground, BCGO. Looks like they're going to try and take this engagement before rotating in, risking the lives of both squads. Kind of going to sit back, play this one maybe a little conservatively now that he's heard a couple of other teams. That's namely Nephilim, who's just joined in the area.
Yeah, Nephilim, Mind, VCGO, they're all going to be in the same area, and they're all going to start to scrap a little bit here, but there's so much high ground that you can play, so much different angles that you can take here, that actually all of these teams can reside next to each other. But maybe VCGO saying, actually, we don't really fancy, maybe we can just get away whilst all these other teams are having a little look toward one another, and instead we can move out. But the question is, where do they go? Because sure, they can move out to the western side here, but there's still going to be plenty of teams they have to get through if they want to go to the zone, because the zone is shifting east, remember, but I don't think they know that yet. Of course, they don't have the ability to get that ring console scan right now. Even if they have fuse up to blue, they just haven't had a ring console they could hit in that moment.
Not sticking around for the fight is maybe going to cost VCGO some points as well, because Nephilim are certainly going to have to go up against Mind. There's really no way around this 3v3 outside of evac towers, and even that could risk Mind's game. Nephilim's rotation does get them the advantage temporarily. It's going to be very tempting to other squads like Forbidden and the Gaming Gladiators, who are down south alongside them right now.
I think Nephilim have got a big decision to make here of, do they want to actually try and win this game and push a little bit further and try and take a more commanding position, or do they play for a little bit more KP and begin to look elsewhere to the southern side? But it looks like 10K are pushing up onto Z10 now here, dear.
Z10 gonna bite the dust immediately. Micey not able to stand up to 10K, but with Alicia Kashera going down, Zero Tenacity do start to fight back. That's 2 now as G-Dolph has to clutch this up himself. It's up against Fuda. Wouldn't want to take that gamble if I were him, but the overheat is going to land, meaning Fuda cannot fire back for a little while. G-Dolph hitting the climb. Fuda trying to grab the bat just behind the knockdown shields. We'll see if this thermite connects, but G-Dolph backing away himself, playing a more conservative game. Fuda with the health advantage swings through the door and takes him out. 10K go down, and Zero Tenacity have a little bit more than 0, I'd say.
didn't really want to pull out the Devo and reload it. I don't know. That was a tough one for G Dolphin. I think there's gonna be a lot of eyes on him as well. So, you know, it's always gonna be a difficult first week when you are just newly added to a team. But I think 10K would have felt like they could have done a little bit better in that engagement by their own standards. As we check back in with Alliance, the building killers, the lobby slayers. And they're going to continue to move from north to south as they look to try and pick their next target in their current rampage.
SJP2 still up, right up alongside them, both statistically and on the map. This clash of teams is one that I'm really looking forward to, and it seems almost inevitable, Gaskin. SJP2 have even taken note of Alliance right now and are throwing some shots towards them, telling Alliance to stay away, telling them to give them space. I don't think Alliance love hearing that.
Mouse are taking a lot of damage, but elsewhere they have been able to get a knock at least, and they can reset. Utilizing the Wraith portal as well. That means they can look down from above and maybe add some extra damage to those that have been arriving. VCGO are still trying to move in at the moment, and it looks like they will traverse a little bit closer as we check back in with Nephilim as well. They're on the southern side. They were looking towards GG. As now VCGO looks like they are actually having this fight as Mind get eliminated.
Very weird to see both VCGO and Mind in the zone before Nephilim were. Even though these squads all split up and Nephilim took the southern choke, VCGO and Mind both got in before Mind unfortunately had to leave us. Now VCGO still with a great spot in zone, and Alliance, funnily enough, have found themselves a spot that's at least safe for now, safe enough to start taking some more fights. That is an immediate knock on Zipline Mafia, a very fast fight, and you know it's going well when you plan to take the Wraith portal to follow for the kill.
Effect says, yeah, you ain't getting away, I'm gonna chase you down, boy. Sadly, he doesn't even have to do anything. Zipline Mafia just lead out, and they will be taken down. So now 14 squads remain, and Alliance continue to dominate anyone that they come across. And they will have this building, they will have the northern side, but they still have to continue moving down further south. So Zipline Mafia were the next team in the barrage that has been Alliance. FaZe Clan or BPR could be the following.
That's 3 full squads already taken out by Alliance, and even though our teams don't know who's doing the escorting squads from the lobby, I think they'll be able to put it together, knowing that this lobby is going as fast as it is. Nice job by Funk. Our first North American export to EMEA. See how he can do on the game. And Gladiators have been a pretty quiet squad today.
Yeah, and it's you know, to see an NA player go to EMEA is incredible. I know we've had a couple of region changes throughout ALGS, but often it can be the other way of Europeans heading over towards North America to try and change their esports destiny. But Funk just going for a slightly different change of lifestyle, very different change of lifestyle depending on where you're moving to as well. And we'll just see how he goes with GG. At the moment, only the 10 points thus far, sitting in 15th, but maybe this could be the game that puts them a little bit further up in that leaderboard.
For as exposed of a spot as they had, a lot of pressure applied to Nephilim. I'm surprised Game & Gladiators aren't receiving that pressure back in spades. A squad like SJP2, though, who were rotating right alongside Alliance, now find themselves alone in the north end zone as Alliance jumps straight into the center of it. Dead center of ring. Alliance claim their spot. Is it going to be one that lasts them? These nades are hitting hard and heavy.
I mean, they do avoid the damage. Well, actually, no, they just kind of sucked up and absorbed the damage, to be completely honest. They said, we don't give a damn about your Arc Stars, and they're just going to head a little bit further back just to make sure they're not in no man's land. Instead, they'll have at least some buildings or rocks to play with to cover them ever so slightly. But yeah, they found themselves in a solid spot now. In effect, with the triple take, it's starting to be a nuisance to those teams on the other side. And actually, he's even having a go at Mouse as well.
Yeah, everybody, why not? Got the triple take, got plenty of nades to go along with it. SJP2, that northern rotate really costing them. They didn't have the time to set up in zone. Nate still does get 2 knocks with the PK though, so it's going to be enough to keep them safe for now. As Onyx do not get that lucky. Instead, going down in 13th place. Nemesis maybe about to fall as well, playing this small corner that they've got. A couple of well-placed nades here, and Nemesis are goners, but I'm not seeing those come out.
Yeah, no one really within this zone. This is going to be a final circle that is going to be very difficult to play into because it's just going to move into such open space. As Aurora now, they'll just be able to hold the position they're in at the moment, but they're going to have to move arguably the furthest, but they do have the Wraith portal to work with. I don't know whether Kazak's already put one down, but there certainly was one next to him. And yes, he has. So Aurora can move to the southern side here, and suddenly they find themselves a little bit closer to this zone.
Nephilim spot working really well. They've turned from gatekeepers into just basically one of the only teams in zone. Alliance, surprise, surprise, have picked another fight, and Zero Tenacity, despite their clutch earlier, will not be winning this particular engagement. It is unlucky, once again, that manages to clutch up for the squad, and is still looking for a reset. Double Arcstar makes that a little bit more possible, but you can tell Alliance are nervous about sticking this. The audio cues alone could be a bait for Mouse. 0-0's dropping down. He's considering it. But Alliance get one reset off, and I think they're going to get the other. Alliance are back into this game when they were on the verge of leaving it.
Yeah, you can see 0-0 was trying to just clamber his way down and see if maybe he could get eyes on this, but it looks like Alliance will reset. Finally, they are going to push in off Forbidden, but Alliance have been able to reset slightly. They weren't fully healthy, though, so now Miles are able to pick up 2. It's going to be just Effect yet. Again, trying to clutch up here, but it's just going to have to play survival game instead. Does get the bat off, so there is still hope for Alliance yet, but it's going to be a very difficult one here.
That's close. It's close. Alliance almost spotted, and Nephilim could be the squad that comes up on them. It is Maus that has scored Alliance from the lobby as Jens going to try and clamor with the Wraith. Does come out of the void, and to safety as Nephilim, still playing off the low ground, are just fine. Nemesis expiring behind them, and the Gaming Gladiators going down as well.
I mean, Alliance eliminated, but eliminated with 11 kills, so they're going to be putting up, what, 13 points after their placement point as well, so
how disappointing for them.
Still a lot of points for them to put up and stay at the top of the leaderboard. Now, Forbidden, the team that did really do that damage to Alliance, are going to have to push out, but the zone is going to do plenty of damage here as well. They've already lost 0-0, and I'm not sure they're going to get the chance to reset. They'll be wiped. 4 teams now remain.
Despite the amount of damage that was put into FaZe, they just never stop firing back. It's a big reset from them. Aurora on high ground here as well. The Aurora versus FaZe fight could go really hard. Nephilim starting to climb up on this. FaZe dropping 1. It's the perfect time for Aurora to strike, but Nags plays things slowly, plays a behind cover and on Catalyst. No better time to do it. Out comes the wall. FaZe trying to reset in the 2 versus 3, and they could do it. Swing out from the Ballistic. Leaving FaZe still with the potential to take this up against Aurora. Kazak playing slowly, playing carefully on the Wraith. Does need to extend for the team.
Well, FaZe down to a 2. Aurora are just going to have hard work, though, getting from this eastern side. It's Nephilim who are going to be watching everything from more central area, but VCGO still will play a vital part in this one. I wonder if the Wraith portal could change things for Aurora here, as they're just going from point A to point B at the moment, playing the survival game and trying to avoid those sight lines before they really have to commit to one of these fights as FaZe do get eliminated.
I'll go FaZe. Aurora, great scouting so far with the fuse. Now can they force these 2 squads together? Nephilim have been the inevitable force in this lobby. They have not stopped taking ground, taking space from other teams. Aurora taking their first chunk of it with the very freshly gotten Wraith portal. VCGO immediately recognize that Aurora is the big threat. They start piling in on them, and it forces the Wraith portal back. Aurora now caught between a rock and a hard place, in zone or into the sightlines of VCGO.
Yeah, I think Aurora are just going to sadly get focused by both teams, but they have been able to find a little position behind the building here, and also the fuse really coming into play just to keep them away at the moment. But Aurora now will lose one. Now they get focused, and Nephilim are sending it on them. But will Nephilim stay healthy, or can VCGO maybe take advantage here?
VCGO's jump on Nephilim. It's their game to take. Still one member of Aurora left, but VCGO know that against a solo, they've just got to keep everyone up. No, gonna swing on Kazak, take him down, taking out Aurora, and winning game number 4.
VCGO put up the points, and Aurora will take second place, I believe. So they did very well just to avoid that gunfire. But sadly, for Nephilim, they had a really good position, but it always happens when there's 3 teams. All it takes is that one team who's struggling to kind of make that decision of where they're going to play, which team they're going to start to push towards, and it really can change the outcome of that final circle.
And it's a great job from VCGO to recognize what's going on and play the timing correctly, because as soon as Aurora starts losing members, it's not so much about waiting for that fight to be done as it is jumping on Nephilim when they do not expect it. Very fun end game to watch, especially as Aurora did have that sneaky play. Kazak was playing safe.
Yeah, I think that, you need to have someone just a little bit wise to how the circle is going as well, because if you are going to decide that we cannot win this game. How do we get second place? And sometimes second place is difficult to achieve without just fully sending it onto a team and being able to win a 3v3 engagement. But that is where the likes of a Wraith can come into handy, because you can just go into the void, you can avoid everything, and you can reposition and find somewhere they can't see you.
Yeah, every second really counting, even for Aurora, who managed to get second place off of that. The survival 17.
Really impressed with the amount of points that come in from Alliance as well. Elsewhere, you know, a couple of struggling teams, and sadly that means they are going to start to fall away from that leading pack as we look at the top three and just how much points they were able to achieve and the damage that went alongside it as well. It was Nephilim who were the kind of damage dealers out of this top three. As I mentioned, from the position they were in, they maybe thought the win was potentially on the horizon, but sadly unable to do so. And maybe that ballistic just helped out in the final moments for VCGO as well, being able to get that ultimate down so that they could really deal that extra damage with the ammo they were able to have.
SJP2 still right behind Alliance, but right behind is a generous term for being 20, 21. I'm not doing the math. 23 points. I did the math. 23 points behind Alliance. It's tough for SJP2. It's tough for anybody to challenge Alliance, but we are seeing that teams can do it, and teams like VCGO being able to find a win there is a big shift in momentum for their individual performance. Who else can individually perform? Who else can come up and challenge SJP2 for that second place slot? Will Alliance run away with everything? We'll find out with the next two matches after the break.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
All right, welcome back everybody once again. Lots of games already done, but we've still got a couple to go here on the ALGS and MIA Pro League to find out who is going to end up atop of the table. But Dan, after the last game, after what Alliance are starting to put together, it's looking like it might be a race for second place at this point.
Certainly, it doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to catch them up, especially with how aggressive Alliance are being right now. They were just pushing everyone. I mean, yes, they didn't get to this final circle, but they were literally tearing through anyone that was in their wake. Sadly, they did eventually get shut down, but this was an interesting final circle because Aurora were kind of in panic mode, just trying to survive and trying to get into a position where they could call home whilst being focused by two other teams. And in the end, VCGO, they did enough to kind of force Aurora over towards Nephilim, and then they had to have that fight, have that engagement. Aurora did enough damage to Nephilim, and then it was just clockwork at that point. Nephilim sadly didn't really have the legs to fight back, and in the end, Aurora also able to escape with one, so they could take second place.
You can see Kajak there just playing away from everybody else. It was initially a difficult situation for them. You saw the Wraith portal come in from Kajak initially to try and it's find a safe spot to play. The only problem was it put them in a bit of a pinch between the other two teams who were able to focus them, but being on the Wraith, he was able to get out of that situation, find himself as the solo away from the rest of his team, take the attention away, so to speak, and close out that second place. But it's VCGO with the 5 KP alongside the win who take match number 4. Sparrow, the next legend to be banned as well. Match number 5 is what we have coming up next as we head back to E-District.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Ballistic banned, or see Ballistic banned in this next one, considering how prevalent he was in that previous game. Although it does beg the question of, you know, where do you go here in terms of having that recon ability? Are we going to see more Pathfinder? I know last week we saw Pathfinder banned, around this time, when people were searching for that extra recon ability, because of course you can choose between recon or being able to hit that ring console as well. But yeah, maybe you could see a few Valkyries pop up as well, but outside of that, I'm struggling to see anyone else being included.
Yeah, it might be Bangalore coming to the fore a little bit here as well, and maybe Newcastle's going to finally make a somewhat of an appearance here, because Newcastle has been extremely quiet when it comes to legend picks so far in the lobby. So heading into match number 5 now, it does feel a little bit like Alliance are separating themselves. Well, it doesn't feel like they are, quite simply separating themselves from the rest of the pack. And I think the danger for everyone else now, Dan, is the way that Alliance are approaching these final games. We saw in that first game of E-District, they are thinking we can run over certain teams, we can run through certain teams, and if we just play for the KP, we're going to have more than enough to close out first place here.
Yeah, they just need to continue in the way they're going, just don't really need to change much. Their team chemistry is evident, their fighting ability together is incredible as well, and if the zone plays their way as well, because if you think about that game, they really had to go quite a long way to get towards the zone. If the zone goes their way, they might just be handed a victory in today's match day, because they are already so far ahead, all of the other teams. But, you know, things can change. All it takes is, you know, SJP2 maybe to have a huge game here, and they might just put Alliance under a little bit of a threat, but I believe it's almost a 30+ point gap between the two right now, so they really are setting the pace.
Yeah, and just on the overalls as well, remember that Na'Vi are currently holding down the top spot. They do have one more game day played, but if I'm not mistaken, even with a win here in this match day, Alliance still would be in second place if my maths is correct, and usually it's 50-50, but I'm pretty sure that is going to be the case. So they came in looking focused today to try and close that gap, to try and put the pressure onto Na'Vi when it comes to the overall standings. They're doing a pretty good job of it. But elsewhere, Dan, when you look at the overalls, every single match that's played at the moment is changing the overall standings. We had a lot of teams on the cutoff of the top 20, which will qualify for regional finals, tied up on 19 points. So that's why the rest of the lobby has still got a lot to play for here, even though Alliance are so far ahead at the top.
Yeah, and you need to be looking at teams that are on that bubble. I mean, a squad that we mentioned, likes of FaZe, for example, only on 18 points at the moment, in 11th position. So they need to find something a little bit different here in matches 5 and 6. But the good thing about legend bans happening and the game changing every single time in every single match is that maybe the next game is going to be the meta that suits your team a little bit more. Whether it's more of a fighting meta, whether it's more of a zone meta, it can just change and shift, as we are seeing a lot more ballistics. We're seeing a lot more Pathfinders as well coming into the equation. But the legend that is going to be banned is either Ballistic or Pathfinder. They're actually both even on 12 picks, so it will depend which team wins and what composition they have.
Well, it's going to be a very similar zone to what we saw previously, heading up towards City Hall. So, yeah, a little bit too similar, if you ask me. But we're going to have to see if it does pull exactly to the same spot that we did see VCGO take home the previous game, or if we're going to see something a little bit different. And, of course, VCGO winning that game from Street Market as well. So not an easy rotate for them. But they do have Ring Console. They do have Survey Beacon. So they're going to have info, which will probably make them quite happy knowing what happened in that previous game.
Yeah, and I wonder whether Alliance are going to do the same thing, where they just like move a little bit further out and start looking for KP, and then start to delete the teams that have played zone. Because if you can traverse the map a little bit and find lots of Evo ability and get yourself to purple, you can really bully those teams that are going to be on blue that have played zone early. And also, there's going to be so many teams in this lobby that are starting to get a little bit desperate for points, that they are going to be a little bit more scared. They are going to play a little bit more zone heavy, and Alliance can definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at what Alliance have over Lotus, by the way, they have 2 Evo caches, and they have an Assault Bin, and they have Med Bin, so they're going to be pretty close to purple just off of their POI, and in comparison to a lot of other teams at the moment. Nice little shot coming in from the charge rifle, by the way, from Artico, just burning at the buttocks of the player who is trying to escape and manages to do so. But UAIM, 7th place overall at the moment, 26 points. It's been a consistent day, but not the pop-off as yet for them. Maybe today, and in this game, is going to be the one where they put the big points on the board.
Yeah, certainly is a toss-up between who's going to finish second place in the moment with how Alliance are playing, but Team Nemesis, one of those teams that are definitely within that equation, and they've already been able to find 2 kills in the early stages here as they're moving up. But UAIM is arriving to this party very quickly, so Nemesis, they still have the autoloader engaged at the moment. Are they going to be able to maybe utilize that in a fight? No, they're going to just walk the other way, so UAIM won't even get there for a potential third party.
Yeah, it was Mind who were on the receiving end of that. One player did manage to escape, but I don't know how long they're going to be able to survive. It looks like Team Nemesis are trying to scout out where that final player did go, but 2 KP on the board to start with, and a team who's in 3rd place overall. Certainly a nice way to start here, game number 5.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go up into the skies and reposition here as well. Head up a little bit further to City Hall, but they do get...
Might be coming straight back down again.
Straight up and straight back down, but at least they are going to be able to get the revive.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of overconfidence there, and Zuni's going to find a sky nade. The shrapnel certainly in areas that are going to be uncomfortable to remove for whoever needs to. It's going to be UAIM who are trying to push onto this. Remix Powers, though, with the P20s, makes things a little bit more awkward, but it looks like UAIM should be able to comfortably at least reset here and claim those KP for themselves.
Yeah, Remix Powers was just really trying to stop them from chasing and sending that last player off to try and get the res. So Nemesis will be able to escape at the very least. Sadly, their attempt to go up into the sky was not a successful one, but now there's going to be another team arriving thanks to a Pathfinder zipline. It's BPR.
BPR take the height. This building is prime real estate for a lot of people by the looks of things at the moment. You're seeing Pathfinder having its return to the fore as well, and showing how those zip lines still can be so influential, moving from building to building, from floor to rooftop, or rooftop to rooftop, depending on what space is available for you to play. So BPR don't get involved in that fight. Looks like they want to continue their rotate here, and UAIM have certainly left to give them the space to do so.
Everyone's moved in so fast as well. There's plenty of buildings to work with at the moment. The next zone is going to be the important one here, because the shift is going to change the whole complexion of how things go over towards this area. And it could work out for those that are rotating in late, like the likes of Zero Tenacity, Nephilim, FaZe Clan, all outside of the zone, just maybe waiting for that Ring 3 information. And maybe they can change their plans accordingly.
I mean, GG been a little bit disappointed so far. I mean, you look at the names on this lineup, you know, Funk, moved over from NA, former LG, almost won a LAN, almost won the World Championships. And then you have Light and Blast, 2 of the most established players in EMEA who have had a lot of success. You could say that they will, back in Mannheim, Germany, pretty close to having the opportunity to win a LAN as well. But it's just not clicked for them, and it's strange sometimes how little things change in the game that can just throw a team's natural chemistry off. And I need to see a little bit more from GG. I think there's some maybe cause for concern with the performances we've seen so far.
I think some of it comes down to expectations and the weight of that on your shoulders as well. It really can influence how you approach a game, how you can approach even just a fight at times when you are thinking a little bit too much about how you should be performing rather than just using all that brain power to actually how you should be playing the game and focusing on what's around you. Speaking of stay healthy at the moment, in 10th position, they are the benchmark in terms of mid-table teams. As there's a look at the lay of the land, as the zone is going to be shifting that little bit further north, so up towards the likes of Alliance, who have been able to find themselves almost dead center here. And they should be able to secure first place in this entire match day if they have a good game here.
Yeah, just playing that bridge position at the moment, Alliance. And like we mentioned, leaving Lotus would have had really good Evo. So from a height position, an advantageous LMS position where they can just output damage, you would not be surprised if you went to check in with them if they were already on purple shields with just the simple pathing that they've had to take towards this position that they find themselves in. Down on the southern side is where things are starting to get busy, though. You can see everybody is inside of a building or on top of a building at this point, and there's still teams to continue arriving from that southern side. So things are certainly going to pick up when it comes to fights breaking out in about 2-3 minutes time.
Yeah, it's annoying though for those teams that are moving from the south with the fact the zone has shifted north. There's 10k, 9 points at the moment. Of course, one of the teams that we focused on at the start because of the team change and G-Dolphin coming through. The question is, can they just have that one game to send them up the leaderboards? Because it is a tight leaderboard apart from Alliance. It's very much still achievable that even 10k could finish second place overall with 2 solid games here. But it all has to start here in match 5. Sadly, their fights just haven't really gone their way. Even if they've been third-partied or just straight 3v3s, nothing's really worked out for them.
Well, fight taking place here, and you can see that Nix is going to fly in here for BPI. He's going to be doing the majority of the damage in that battle. And it's going to be the reset that actually came in from Mind, and Taylor's going to be taken down. So we saw 2 members of Mind taken out earlier. Well, it's going to be another member down for them off of the reset this time around. So looking like a bit of a rough game for them, but they will be able to escape the last 2 towards a crafter and look to get Taylor back in. For now, though, other teams looking to continue the rotate. And again, we're seeing that Pathfinder zipline be one of the best ways to get from point A to point B for them. BPR continuing and will be safe inside this next zone now.
But they still have to move. They still have to keep going for the next one. Once they get that info, when the ring moves, they will maybe look to another zip line to try and take them from building to building. But it is an almost identical position for Pathfinder getting banned, just as it did last week, I believe. On this game 5, where Recon Legends have started to disappear a little bit, and you need something else, because also, not only the Recon Legends disappearing, but remember, we lost Ash, we lost Alter, so that's 2 massive rotation Legends that you're losing here on E-District. Pathfinder can just work out being the perfect inclusion, because you can zip from building to building, you can avoid a lot of the fight that might be happening down low. And also, we've already seen how Pathfinder can impact one of those final circles with Unlucky earlier on as well. Just the individual ability that you can apply when you're playing this legend.
Well, Zero Tenacity look like they're ready to fight at the moment. They're outside of zone, 30 seconds until it closes. Let's jump into the comms of Zero Tenacity as they look to get aggressive.
Yeah, they were looking before.
I just go towards zone, go towards zone. They're running a lookout. Actually, we can just go left side now. We can just force this choke now.
Yeah.
Can you guys get up to me? They're running underneath us somewhere.
Can we climb here? Or let's go back here.
They're just running lookout. That's fine. Just come fast.
Yeah.
I'm dropping down. They should be in like they're in Blossom somewhere.
Remember, no Ballistic now.
Yeah.
I have 1 knock, yeah.
We're good for now on the left side. There's a team on the building, but we're fine on the left side. This one is free. I was getting shot from the high building. I'm dropping ultic stuff for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it and pop both.
This team is probably gonna go back for the banner, but it's fine. Team in... just play small right now. There's a team in Boardwall. They're probably playing like a beacon or something. We can wrap them after. Let's play like really small. You need this one?
I got it, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. If we force the fight, we can probably play the bridge or something after. We can also play on this alley or play
There's people blended. I like us off bait.
There's a lot of teams, like still 19 squads.
So Zero Tenacity, you heard it from the listening what the plan was. They invested a lot into that rotate down, but upon reflection, if you invest and you survive, it's a good choice.
Yeah, lack of tenacity, I feel. Maybe that needs to be changed from them. But we'll see as they now approach on this western side. You heard the comms as well. If they can force the fight, maybe they can take the bridge. So that's going to be something they're going to go for. But my question would be, if you can't force the fight, then what's your backup plan? Do you try and play a little bit further north? Do you try and hit the south side? But Reply Totem are going to be able to hold this northern side at the moment. They're going to be far northwest, but they will have to move as the zone continues to shift a little bit further away from them here. And it's over towards where Alliance were currently residing.
Yeah, Alliance who are bang center zone, but have just had Hackis being knocked, but it was from distance. From, ironically, Bad Sniper with that scout in his hands. Inside of this building, though, UAIM are going to have to get a reset here, and they do have the Watson gen down. Allowing those shields to recuperate. Zarko gets some fences outside a little bit just to give him a little bit more cover. You can see how difficult it will be to push inside of this room. And UAIM will be safe for quite some time as well. Team down on the low ground of their building, so they're going to be coexisting for now as we jump on board with Forbidden and Nemesis. Or should we say Mouse now? It's officially been announced. Let's call it Mouse for now.
Yep, it's official. Only Aku yet to change the name as well. Maybe that's going to be the next change. You are going to see Into the Void at the moment just to try and get a little bit of scouting done, and I think Nemesis might be short-lived here, their time on this map.
Yeah, that catwall's not going to be long enough for them to survive, really. They can try and stick the res, but with 19 squads still alive, you can see why Mouse don't really want to overextend for this. There's so many teams still alive. If you jump down and try and finish off this fight, and you take a few extra seconds to do so, that's where the problems start to arrive. And you can see they're taking damage from different angles here. So this is like one of those frustrating situations here for Mouse. You get the first knock, but you just can't get into a position to even secure the kill.
Yeah, I think this is where you hope that the rest of the lobby and the ring does the damage for you, but you can see below them, Nemesis are just trying to escape. Finally, now they will drop as they assess the area and realize that they can use this catwall to give them a little bit of coverage. So 0-0 drops the catwall. The Dark Veil provides them with any protection that they thought they were missing beforehand. And now they can really focus on this next fight. But you can see they are very much on the low ground here. This is not going to be easy.
Yeah, they're in trouble here. They're stuck in a really difficult situation. Look at the angles that Stay Healthy have onto them. And all of that to secure the 1 KP. You have to wonder if that's going to be a decision they look back on as one that isn't a good one, as Aku will go down. Nemesis, by the way, who were down to 2. They lost that first player on the rotate. Well, now they're having a bit of a revenge tour.
I'm going to be able to just reset a little bit here, our mouse. And Nemesis have gone. Like, they're out of there. As we look over towards GG, they're still going to have to move. By the way, these next 15 seconds when round 4 closes is gonna be pretty nutty, because we have still a full lobby. We still have every team trying to move towards this zone, and we have about 10 teams who are not even in this next circle. So keep your eyes peeled on that kill feed. It's about to be lit up.
Forbidden struggling down to this low ground. Last player alive is going to be 0-0, and he might have 0 health in just a few seconds time. Zone is closing towards him. Don't even think he's going to have the opportunity to hit a barrier here. Doesn't have a catwall, doesn't have anything. He's just running naked along these walls at the moment. Can't get the shield swap either. They will be eliminated. Mouse will fall out of the lobby. Now over to watch Onyx. Nephilim have just been eliminated alongside them, as we find ourselves now with 17 squads in the lobby. And they're trying to force this fight onto the team who's inside of that build. Will certainly command the space around the position that they're holding down themselves. Elsewhere, Totem, they're taking a fight against VCGO, the winners of our previous game. They're getting some good damage done as well. Mind finally eliminated. 3 times they will manage to get back on their feet in this game, but unfortunately for them, that will be the end. GG Go. SJP2 also fall, and that opens things up here at the top of the leaderboards down.
Yeah, Totem did really well to find a position that they weren't really going to be too much devoured by all the oncoming teams that were trying to find their way in. But you can see VCGO get eliminated as well. 13 teams now left. And actually, more teams survived than I thought were going to, but that was just because there was a little bit more coverage available on the southeastern side. You've got Onyx, BPR, Babaji, and Alliance, and Team Nemesis, all going to be in that same kind of area. Remember, Alliance have the bridge above them. There's still kills that are happening. Alliance, as we just check in with them, they are doing so much damage to everyone around them, just peppering from above.
Alliance have moved away from where center zone is going to be to try and clear out as much as they can at the southern side of this zone. The knuckle clusters are going in, and Baba G will fall victim to effect as he picks up some more KP here for Alliance. So Alliance, who were center zone, have moved away from that as the traffic started to arrive. They want to think about KP and clearly one side of the zone, and now they're going to have an opportunity, as you can see them up on this bridge, to influence this fight that's going down as well. Can they steal a couple of kills here as well?
No matter where Alliance looks, there is commotion happening, but they have just lost Effect. But look at the boys quickly coming to his aid, because Effect was damaged from distance. Elsewhere, Onyx have just taken down Stay Healthy. BPR also get eliminated as well. So plenty of work done, but now can you actually push in from this southeast side? Because Onyx will be able to hold this building.
Aurora went in the meantime before those fights took place as well. So the lobby really starting to take care of itself as the space becomes premium real estate for everybody to try and hold down. Alliance do get back up to a 3, still commanding this bridge, and now having cleared out this southern side, well, surprise, surprise, they've got the lobby in front of them. This is what Alliance do so well. So many teams in their position, Dan, a few minutes ago would have sat center zone and waited for the teams to come to them. But Alliance know teams have got to fight, and they will clear the side of the zone themselves.
Well, now they need to take on FaZe, and FaZe actually get the first knock thanks to the mother load. So Alliance are going to be in a 2 versus 3 here against FaZe, but you've got Effect and Unlucky, the dynamic duo. It looks maybe they've got a knock of their own, and actually FaZe are struggling a little bit here, but they do manage to get the damage, and Unlucky, it's just too much to do surely here.
Unfortunately for him, just not the opportunity to clutch like he has a couple of times already today. Alliance will be eliminated. And how big could that fight be for FaZe as Team Nemesis also will go down? Now, FaZe have approached this game from the northern side of the zone. It was much more quiet than everyone else. And the travels that they had to make, and that big fight against Alliance for essentially what could be Godspot in this endgame could be huge for their final position.
Yeah, FaZe are rewarded now with arguably the best spot in the game. 10K also get eliminated, so FaZe now can play above everyone else. They can also get to literally end zone in the position they find themselves in as well, whereas everyone else is going to have to try and work their way up towards FaZe, or at least below them. I think it should be a FaZe win, but it's not always as simple as that because things can change, especially with the legends we have available. We've got at least 4 Pathfinders still left in the lobby, and all it takes is looking the wrong way, and suddenly there's a Pathfinder zip on the other side, and they'll be taking that position away from you. So FaZe need to be having their heads on a swivel at the moment.
Reply Totem want to try and play underneath FaZe in this bridge position, and they will be able to do so. This is interesting because Zipline Mafia, you saw, hit the catwall to escape from the building where 3 different teams are, and now UAIM, having the latest to rotate from this building, have got themselves in a bit of bother here. They have to leave at some point, and they will be eliminated thanks to the early rotate that came from Reply Totem.
Yeah, Reply Totem are just going to play underneath FaZe Clan, but now Onyx is maybe their next target as they move around. They're also pinging Zipline Mafia, who maybe are going to try and take some high ground as FaZe have taken a lot of damage, and FaZe have lost one because Zipline Mafia did zipline onto them, and they have certainly made things a little bit more difficult for FaZe now.
Onyx see the opportunity to push, and they will push. Nax is down to about 30 HP. Now he's down. Last player alive for FaZe is trying to escape, and it's Onyx who take the opportunity from the fight that took place to try and take this position away now. Onyx, they're getting pushed by Totem. Totem will be eliminated, and somehow Onyx hold for now.
Somehow FaZe still alive as well. The last remaining player is going to be alive for FaZe, but it's probably going to be a 3 versus 1 here, and it looks like Zipline Mafia are going to clean this one up.
Zipline Mafia, who live up to their name by taking that zipline, get a donation from Zane for the final KP. FaZe gets second, but it's the Zipline Mafia who take control, and they will win your game number 5.
I mean, the Zipline Mafia, who were down right in the depths of the barrel of this leaderboard, have now find themselves up into 11th place with that victory, and that's how close things are when you look at the mid-table and you look at anything outside of what really the top 2 at the moment. And FaZe also with some big points that they very much needed as well. So an interesting one. I mean, I think I was kind of focusing on the fact that yes, FaZe were in a good position, but you never really know who's going to arrive from where because there were so many teams alive, and I think that was evident. FaZe tried to spread themselves out to watch all these different angles, but all it takes is one player getting knocked and the rest of the lobby seeing it, and then suddenly it becomes carnage on top of that bridge.
Yeah, very difficult to hold those positions sometimes. Like you say, you know, everyone's looking to take that spot away from you in the final moment, and if one team thinks the opportunity is there, damage is going to be taken, right? And it's very difficult to hold off a second and third squad as much as, you know, they tried to in that situation. To taking second away in that situation where everyone just ascended to that high ground, I think FaZe will be pretty happy with that. Zipline Mafia, they were first place, but only 4 KP means they get 16 points on the board. But when you're looking at total points from the lobby, it's Onyx who pick up the most with 11 KP the reason.
It's also good news for, you know, Alliance, who were in first place, because no one really had a mammoth game to be catching them up either. So they'll still very much be sitting pretty in number 1. But looking at the top 3 teams and what they were able to achieve in that game, I mean, it was a very messy end game thanks to the zip lines that came out from the likes of Zipline Mafia. But I'm just looking across. When we look at bans, I mean, it will mean that Pathfinder is going to be banned for the next game because Zipline Mafia had a Pathfinder and did not have a Ballistic because they were tied. So it means we'll lose Pathfinder, but we still have Ballistic to play in match 6.
Oh, we finally see Newcastle win the compositions. We see Newcastle winning a game as well. So looking across the damage output as well, FaZe with some really good damage output, and Onyx we saw, you know, 5k damage from them. Not surprising with the amount of KP that they put on the board in comparison to the 2 other teams in that top 3. This is how things look after that game. Series results, like you say, Dan, Alliance probably not too worried with what they saw in that last game, knowing that the teams closest to them didn't put a huge amount of points on the board. They still lead the way with 76, but behind that, it really is so close, and with another game to go, this could go anywhere looking at the totals of the teams.
Yeah, SJP2 would need a 33-point plus game and require Alliance to go out first. So looking pretty likely that Alliance are going to be the number 1 spot at the end of all of this. But we still have to find out what's going to happen, who's going to finish in second place. My headset's falling off, so that's a good chance for us to go for a quick break. We'll be back for match number 6.
Being called a prodigy isn't easy. The pressure, the expectations. Nah, I'm just kidding. I was born for this. And yeah. The future is here. Are you ready? I've got endless determination, a lifetime of practice, and a total lack of media training. Success, it don't come overnight. Just watch me put up a fight. Locked in, I'm feeling cold as ice. Let's move. I don't know how to slow down. Find my target. Time to say ciao. Doing work on a holdout. It's looking like it's a blowout. More eyes on you means less on me. Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top. Sing it out. The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny I'm in the games, I'm on your screens, and now I'm on billboards. Oh, check this out. Che figata. It's looking like it's a blowout. Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top. Coming in hot. The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny. Later, champ. Here I go. Do it again. Surprise. Woohoo! High five! Go! I didn't know I'd end up here, but I do know how it ends. Yeah! I've heard losing builds character. Let me know how that goes. Been waiting my whole life for this. Yeah! Been getting so right for this. Hey! Been waiting my whole life. Hey ragazzi, we did it.
Pay attention.
Welcome back, you beautiful bunch, to the ALGS EMEA Pro League, and we have one more game to go today to close out who is going to be at the top of the leaderboards and who's going to be in that chasing pack as well. On set, that's me, Dan Gaskin, that's him. We're going to be guiding you through this final game. Dan, we've talked about how Alliance look very good at the top of the leaderboard, but this final circle mixes things up a little bit, and the likes of FaZe have got into that top 10 now with their second place finish.
Yeah, it kind of opens it up for a lot of teams to try and find some points here in this series. And this final circle, when you look back, FaZe had done the hard work, right? They've taken down Alliance. They've been able to find that position on Bridge. But then it was what happened after that fact. There was just so many teams around all eagerly wanting to take the position of Bridge, because sadly, if you were down low, you just had such little coverage. So really, you had to try and take that risk. And all it took was one team to start to head up towards the top of Bridge. And it just then allowed another team to take that moment. And it was a domino effect off of that point.
You can see it from the point of view of FaZe here on the left-hand side of your screen, trying to hold off so many different teams, making their ascent to that high ground. Onyx, they flew up. They did a big amount of damage, actually, FaZe, to Onyx in this fight, and almost managed to hold it, but it was Onyx, I think it was the third part in that situation, who took down two members, well, one member of FaZe, but then you saw the Zipline Mafia start to arrive after Totem Esports. They were the final team who got up to the height, and unfortunately for Onyx, they weren't able to hold out that position. The last player alive from FaZe knew that the jig was up, so to speak, and Zayn just hit the zip line. Probably thinking, I can 1v3 this, or probably thinking, hey, I've done my job. We've got second place. Let's get into the final game, and the Zipline Mafia were able to close out those final moments. 2k damage for them, 4kp alongside it, and no more Pathfinder for us in match number 6.
And that begs the question again of, you know, where do we head for this one? Like, are we going to see more Recon Legends start to be included? Because Pathfinder, of course, was doing the job of a Recon. You can hit the survey beacon with Pathfinder. So are we going to see more Valkyrie going in this one? Do we start to see a Bloodhound or a Seer coming to the equation? Do you just forget about Recon altogether? Where are you in the leaderboard? Do you need a Recon Legend? That's where all of this can change as well. Do you need points? Do you have to go for a slightly different or more aggressive composition? Do you go for a more defensive composition? All these questions shall be answered when we get into the game.
I do find it impressive, by the way, that Ballistics made it through an entire set.
So close.
Somewhat surprising, right? I mean, I feel like Ballistic is one of the strongest legends in the pool at the moment, and certainly is one that a lot of people want to have in their compositions. Well, Ballistic makes it through all 6 games today. Maybe if this was a little bit of a longer series, like the regional finals, potentially, then we might be seeing him out of the lobby. But for now, Ballistic makes it through, which as an Englishman, of course, I love to see. Match number 6 is live. This is the final one of the day here for the EMEA region. Let's see how the leaderboards look after this one.
And Ballistic is going to be in the majority of compositions as well. A 68% pick rate, 13 legends. 13 teams have selected that legend, excuse me. But in terms of, you know, where are we going to be going when people are trying to replace the likes of Pathfinder? Mirage starting to creep in. Of course, Mirage can be used as well for that ability. Valkyrie has popped up here or there. Otherwise, we're seeing more inclusion of Fuse, more Wraiths, Watson, Catalyst, Bangalore's in there, and a couple of Newcastles have been thrown into the equation as well. But certainly dominated by Ballistic right now. And I think you make a good point. I mean, it is surprising, but if we had seen a Ballistic team win in the previous game, then Ballistic would have been banned. There's been a couple of ties so far today that have been defined by the winning team.
Well, it looks like a pretty central zone here, although I will say teams who have dropped over at City Hall have probably been pretty happy with some of the zones they've been presented. Onyx Esports being one of those teams, because we've had 2 City Hall and then one just to the south side of it. So not a tough rotation for a lot of those teams to make. If you're someone like Stay Healthy, you're probably thinking, come on, give us a break here. Then it would be nice to have something on our side of the map. But, you know, 6-game series, you've only got three games on E-District here. So not surprising to see maybe a little bit of a consistency when it comes to those zones.
This is going to be an exciting one, I think. I like zones like this on E-District because, you know, it's kind of an even playing field for everyone to arrive who are on the outer edges. So you're not going to see someone struggling too much with their rotation as well. And there are definitely going to be some big fights at some of these choke points where, you know, Valkyrie could be very important with some of these late inclusions as well, because we're not seeing the Pathfinder. We don't have the Altar to be able to get through. Wraith is going to be a big one as well, being able to just use that portal to maybe get through and jumping into the void to avoid someone's defense of said choke point. So yeah, I'm excited for this game.
Also an interesting 50-50 guess on what side of the wall you want to take as well, where that zone is going to be pulling later on. Maybe third ring console is going to be important for these teams to eliminate that RNG of where the zone is going to go. If you get the information, well, you haven't got to worry about it coming back to bite you a little bit later on. But Uraim, early little kind of exchange of fire with Aurora here. Nobody really overextending to find the kill, but can certainly change the rotation path of one of those teams. Zero Tenacity also coming up behind UAIM in that situation, so they might find themselves in a bit of a pinch. Onyx Esports, who we saw have a strong performance in the previous game, are going to look to make an even stronger one here. 5th place overall for them, 34 points on the board. Still some work to do for them to close out a top 5 finish though.
Yeah, but an opportunity to maybe push themselves a little bit further as well if they can replicate that one. In terms of teams that are having to move a little bit further, I know I said it's somewhat even, but it is slightly more west than it is east. So likes of Zero Tenacity, UAIM on that eastern side have to move. But other than that, like the teams that were closer to the middle of the map have moved extremely fast because a lot of them did have ring consoles to work with as well. FaZe Clan being a big focus because even though, you know, they got 2nd place in that game, they still find themselves in 10th position, but they're not that far behind in the overall points. So another top 3 here, and FaZe might be looking at another performance that really does help them in that overall leaderboard. Remember how dismal their first 2 match days were, but they can right those wrongs here in this match number 6 if they can find a victory, just as they did the last time we saw them play out. Actually, it was a match 6 first place that really was sending them up the leaderboards.
Yeah, that 2nd place in the previous game, even though it is a 2nd place, there wasn't a huge amount of KP alongside it as well. As 4 if my memory serves me right, which doesn't total to that monster game, like you say, that puts them in a more comfortable position. So FaZe still with work to do here, approaching from the northern side. GG taking to the skies and going to be landing. And they're going to be either side of VCGO now, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, might be down to a duo here. It's actually, no, excuse me, it's 3. So this is a 3v3 that GG have moved out of zone and find themselves in now.
Do they even want to take this fight is my real question. GG, you're in 17th position, 15 points. A team that has been known historically for like playing so well in zone, but it just hasn't been working out for them. And it looks like they're not even interested in that fight either, so they are going to continue to move further south as we check in closer towards the center of the zone. Zero Tenacity have moved from the east to the southern side of Energy Bank, but they're going to have a lot of teams ahead of them here. This is the congestion that I was kind of worried about, but also hoping for, because it does create a lot of excitement in the middle of the map. But the southwest side of Energy Bank is certainly getting packed full of teams.
Yeah, this is the kind of zone where a lot of teams will be thinking it'd be nice to have Alta. Unfortunately, not going to be the case. FaZe now playing inside of the fruit bowl in the middle of City Hall. And if you haven't heard that call out before, it's now the official one for it, because it is the correct one. That is a fruit bowl, right? It's a big fruit bowl.
Confirmed.
Yep. If you disagree, hit me up on social media.
I'm kind of worried for all the other teams that are going to be in the area of Alliance for this game, because I think Alliance would have had a looked at that leaderboard and said, all right, this one's pretty much done and dusted. Let's wrap this one up and put a little bow on it. And with how they were playing in match 4, where they were just pushing everyone, this is a big fight though for GG. A must-win fight every single time they come across the team here if they want to be able to find themselves a little bit further up in the leaderboard.
Oh, I tell you what, that mobile shield from Newcastle though, that was huge. I mean, if that's not there, that team is 100% dead. There's no way they get around that corner. And now GG have got to be careful that they are on the receiving end of a couple of knocks themselves. They've got to be very, very careful here, GG. And oh no, Light has gone down. So GG wanted to fight. The mobile shield keeps them out of the fight, and now stay healthy, get involved themselves. And yeah, Light's down, Light's finished, and GG gonna have to reset somehow.
Yeah, GG trying to force the fight because they thought that maybe it was the only option, because really they had already made such a wide rotation to the southern side and perhaps weren't expecting to see another team let hit the western side once more. BPR are going to be ahead of all these squads that we were just seeing, and they're going to be able to hold the southwest as the zone does transition to the west. But speaking of, by the way, Boardwalk at the moment is insane amount of teams up here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's Onyx, VCGO, Phaser holding zone, and Reply Totem all inside of zone here. Everyone probably looking to escape from fights and look for resets. The problem is everybody's found themselves in the same place. Take a look at the top left-hand side of your screen right now. That's what we're talking about here. Down on the southern side, you can see GG in zone, who we saw lose Light a few moments ago. Well, where are they going to reset? Street Market does have a crafter available to try and get the player back in. It looks like they've managed to do so, but I mean, sheesh. I mean, this is a strange-looking map overhead, if you ask me.
It is. I mean, good news for Game Gladiators, if you look at Neon Square, I mean, it's empty at the moment. So GG actually can rotate through Neon Square, and they're going to have a pretty easy walk into where the zone's going to be, but they just won't know that yet. Unless they can hit a survey beacon on their way, if they even have the ability to hit one. No, they don't. They don't have the ability to hit a survey beacon, so they're not even going to be able to hit one and get that information of where other teams are. So sadly for them, they're just going to have to march on in and use their gun skill to their best ability.
Yeah, it looks like FaZe are moving out to hit that scan by the looks of things, although they can't do it either. Maybe they're looking for ring console. That's one thing that they do have the ability to hit. Nephilim in a little fight themselves on the southern side of this zone. There's going to be Zero Tenacity on the other side of this, if I'm not mistaken. Mobile shield does go down. And now the castle wall will follow to create a little bit of separation and maybe a couple of off angles for them to try and get some damage down, but it looks like the other team has retreated.
Everyone playing a little bit scared at the moment. A lot of trepidation in this lobby. I think there's a lot of teams that really are just worried about dipping out and not being able to put big points on the board, and especially with how tight this leaderboard has been, it's such a good opportunity in this last matchup to climb them. You get a slight lull across E-District now as everyone's just trying to weasel their way into the zone. Still 19 teams. A lot of respect between a lot of these squads.
Yeah, nobody out of the lobby as yet. Every team's still alive, even though we've seen knocks and we've seen a huge amount of resets. Everyone is still alive, and everyone who was on that crazy journey on the northwestern side of the zone, inside the zone, has managed to survive and get back into where the action is going to be taking place. Nephilim now using that mobile shield to walk up, and they will be safe on the edge of this zone as well. It's been a really interesting game. I think, like you said, it feels like everyone's very nervy, knowing how tight it is. Nobody is being overly aggressive at this point. Everyone's just making sure it's survival first.
Well, and when they took a look at the, they take a look at the top right-hand side of the screen and they see 19 squads still left, it's like, if you take a fight here, there could be someone just waiting in the wings, someone just ratting in a corner ready to take you off the map as well. So you have to be very cautious and really analyze every situation here before you do take that fight. And we've lost a lot of legends that give you the information that you require before you can take the fight.
Yeah, that's a really big thing, actually. Like, recon legends and legends who can hit those survey beacons just to give you the lay of the land, not going to be available. So everyone is checking their corners, so to speak, when they're making those rotations. Mythic Bin's going to be up here for UAIM, who have taken their time to walk towards this zone. It was a difficult one for them to try and get to. I think they landed right on the eastern side of the map. FaZe Clan, though, they are starting to get a little bit aggressive here, and the rampage in the sling is always dangerous. VCGO lose 2, and FaZe are looking for that final one, but here comes GG! The ghost in the night! We thought they were dead a few moments ago, but they're back, and they take down FaZe.
And that will be such a dent to FaZe's hopes to find more points. Well, they won't be able to find any more points, but they'll now just have to watch and hope that not too many teams overtake them as they look for their points in the overalls. But Gaming Gladiators will be able to hold. They're not going to be pushed by Alliance, who were north of them as well. Alliance actually continuing just to hold the northern side. And VCGO also going to back away from that one. And now you look at the zone and where it's going to continue to head. It does keep pulling towards the southwest side. So all these teams on the southeast, like Mind, Aurora, Zipline, UAIM, like committing to that side, are going to have to all move at the same time. And there's going to be some really heavy fighting teams there that are going to have to take those fights. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the zone as well. It's one of those that doesn't have like natural buildings in it as well. It's kind of balconies, it's bridges, it's separation in undulating natural kind of formations. It's not going to be somewhere, let's play for first floor late, let's play for second floor. It's let's find somewhere to play. And if you've got a Newcastle in your composition at this point, that could be a big difference maker. One team who does is Nephilim. They're holding down this bridge position for now, and will be safe as this zone starts to close. But you can see that there's so many teams around still. Only the one elimination in the lobby so far. Good shots coming in. With the 30-30, he's going to force that team away, but Jan's now on the Wraith is waiting to see where this zone is going to be pulling before he has to think about maybe rotating with the rest of his team and using that port to get him a bit closer.
Yeah, Nephilim just need to make sure they don't cower into a corner too much here and allow teams to take a little bit of space away from them. And you need to make yourself a little bit bigger and try and output some damage just so that the teams step back. And it looks like they are going to be okay. Again, benefiting from a lot of legends being banned already, so they're not going to be able to be pushed from different angles. No Pathfinder Zip, no Alter Q, no Ash Ultimate either. Very difficult to try and take high ground off of other squads. Zero Tenacity going to try and utilize Newcastle here.
Yeah, going to get the res. Should be able to. The mobile shield being dragged back towards where that res is coming in as well. And Zero Tenacity, they get a shot from the high ground as well. So even though this fight might go their way, you get the feeling the team on the high ground might be able to finish it off pretty quickly. Zero Tenacity will be eliminated. And in the kill feed, you can see that everybody is starting to engage. It's Aurora versus Mind. As Kazakh jumps into the void, Mind will be eliminated. Stay Healthy eliminated, but Aurora go down as well.
Yeah, suddenly there's fights everywhere. No one wanted to fight before, but all it took was one domino to fall, and everyone else then started to pile in to try and find damage. Alliance have just had 2 of their players taken down. Can they be finished, or will they get back up? Probably is not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, as Alliance do get wiped in 14th place, but I highly doubt anyone's going to be catching them with how many points they already had from matches 1 to 5.
And one team who's been quiet today, one team I said who might be a little bit concerned about their performance, is GG. We've seen them with 2 beautiful third parties. SJP2, who are in second place at the moment. Denze does a great job to get the first knock, jumps into the void. Teammates should follow up on this damage, and Reply Totem will be eliminated. 12 squads now remaining. You've got a care package near them as well, but they've got a really risky kind of situation they find themselves in. The back streets are never somewhere you should go on your own, and they are going to try and go together here. Denze with the Kraber in his hands trying to connect, but can't quite make that happen.
The Backstreet Boys trying to get the job done, but sadly they've taken a lot of damage, and it looks like the 2 are going to have to try and escape, leaving it all down to Denze, who has done a lot of damage today, may I add. So there is still a chance for SJP2 to still put points on the board. They're in second place in the overalls at the moment, but Denze is left alone with the chance to try and fight for his team.
Points is everything for them at this point. Still has a Kraber as well, so can certainly influence a few fights that go down. Onyx Esports will be eliminated too. That's going to be thanks to Nemesis finding the final kill for them. GG down to 2 though. You can see VCGO Managed to take down one. Funk is still alive here. They're going to have to look for a red. The smokes are available here for Light, but he's already used the final one up, and now he's going to wait 20 seconds or so for the second to come back. So they're going to have to stick this one, but it looks like they will be able to reset. But there's a nade, and they're going to have to get him back up. And now you see the thermites going.
Oh, they're going to push off that as well. The re-knock is usually the cue, and the slam as well, as Nephilim sadly might be sending GG back to the lobby.
Yeah, the aggressive use of the castle wall here from Nephilim, who are putting together a game here. Really didn't give them the opportunity to even think about resetting or popping batteries. SJP2 have been eliminated. Remember, that's the team who were in second place coming into this game. So 9 squads still in the lobby. We can see a big shift in the overall leaderboards here.
Yeah, it could be a huge shift. A lot of teams are going to be biting their nails watching on, because they're going to be losing out on some vital points for the overalls, but still plenty of game to be played here. Still 9 squads remaining as the zone does shift back a little bit further north. So Zipline Mafia, who were able to find that victory in the previous, they're going to be on the southern side here, but they do have eyes on 10K. I think that's going to be the big fight for them to focus on, depending on where 10K go. If 10K head their way, they might just get a solid 3v3 engagement and be able to dominate the southern side.
Zipline Mafia won our previous game. They're still alive here as well, so they'll be dreaming of a back-to-back. And speaking of back-to-back, it's going to be bodies to bodies here as UAIM will go to the skies initially and look to hit an oob here. Got to be careful of that timer. Last thing you want to do in this situation is have an ugly finish to this game. 5 seconds left on that timer. They're going to launch themselves down to the low ground. They will manage to survive. And now with a fight taking place in front of them, they can go to work.
Well, I said it was going to be a 3v3. UAIM had a change of mind. They said no 3v3 for you guys. We're getting involved in this one. But Zipline Mafia have done well to at least stay on top of it. But maybe UAIM have done enough. But no, now we're going to see another team, Nephilim, come along.
Nephilim, who have picked up so many KPs so far in this game, it feels like, get even more. Cowbell goes down as well. We'll take a look over to the other side of the zone now as Nephilim will clear that side. Bad sniper with a Kraber in his hands. We'll have to see if the name rings true, or if we're going to have to head to marketing for a rebrand.
The team that may be benefiting from all this is Nemesis, still alive, 3rd position at the moment, and only 3 points away from second place, SJP2. So a real opportunity for Nemesis to try and take second place in this lobby.
Well, you call yourself bad sniper. It at least gives you a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to the Kraber shots that have to be hit in this situation. Nephilim completely on their own on the other side of zone, by the way. Nemesis, Forbidden, GG, BPR, Baba G, they're still all alive and they are within 20 feet of each other.
Plenty of Wraiths still alive though, so that position can change very fast just through a mere portal from a mere mortal, as now Bad Sniper and the rest of the team are going to start to push up. And you can see there is still the remainder of GG as well. Light just trying to hide and stay alive and avoid the sight lines of all these teams on this northern side.
Well, it looks like it's set up for a Nephilim win here, just by where everybody in the zone is compared to where they find themselves. With a Kraber, one bullet can change that. Bad Sniper's having a little sneaky peeky here. He fancies himself a highlight clip.
They're just trying to see and smell out, sniff out miles above them here. Are they going to commit to this push? The answer is yes.
Want some fences though. Slow this fight down, and Baba G also get involved in it. Everyone looking for KP on this side of the zone at the moment, as everybody isn't quite sure who's going to be able to survive the longest. You do see it down on the low ground though. I think it's BPR who are down on that low ground. Looking for some angles. GG eliminated from the lobby. Wraith Portal's now starting to be used, but everyone's kind of ended up in the same place. Team Nemesis with this Cowbell, though, have split the zone in their favor.
And Nemesis just trying to get further and further as they close in. Only 1 point behind second place now. Nemesis looking in a really good position to try and push themselves into the top 2, but they cannot afford to take a fight too early because there's just so many teams that may jump on them here. And already using your catwall does leave you vulnerable.
Do have some smoke soap again. They're going to get sent by Mouse here. Forbidden. Now known as Mouse. will get Aku back onto his feet, and Nemesis will be eliminated. So a frustrating moment for them. Down on the low ground, though, you can see the fight starting to take place. But surely this is just opening the door for Mouse to close out. They will do that indeed. Forbidden, Mouse, it doesn't matter. You can call them champions.
What does matter is Mouse have made the right choice picking them up, because Forbidden or Mouse, you can find yourself in second place in the overall standings here in this series layout. They've been able to really shoot themselves up with that victory. And sadly, even though Nemesis were close, they were in third place. They will then drop down to fourth because they've been overtaken. And SJP2 could also not hold on to that top two. But a brilliant final circle, and one, of course, that I know Dia was watching in the wings. Dia, did you enjoy that one? Were you comfortably watching that one on your fitness ball that you sit on?
I was indeed comfortably, enjoyably watching the end game, and I'd say even surprised with the way that things ended up going towards the 8 squads and below. I think there were a lot of surprises in that last circle, but really impressed with the fact that Forbidden Mouse were able to pull out the win, especially given that they were just signed. So it's a really nice victory lap for them on what I'm sure was already a very good day on set.
Yeah, I mean, a very good finish for them, and I think match results are coming at us quite hot here, so we'll take a look at these. And Forbidden with 22 points, or should I say Mouse, excuse me, as I
we'll just do both
for the 1,000th time. Get that wrong today, but 22 points on the board in the final game is certainly going to change the overall leaderboards, because we saw how close it was between everyone outside of Alliance, of course, who kind of had first place wrapped up after 3 or 4 games, it felt like today. But elsewhere, again, just the points shared about. Nephilim, they picked up some good KP, 16 for them. GG with the 10 that they put on the board, but again, I think overall a bit of a disappointing day for them. But elsewhere, apart from Forbidden and Nephilim, not too many points to share around.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Nephilim as well, because they moved up pretty significantly from the first half of the day to the second half of the day, placing just barely within the top 10. But Gaskin, Nephilim, alongside a lot of the other teams that crawled their way up into top 10, managed to have a pretty good E-District.
Yeah, a pretty good E-District, but sadly they put themselves in that position where they really had to try and claw their way back in, which begs the question of, should you have prioritized E-District over Stormpoint with the POI? That's always going to be a big discussion as well if you struggled on the Stormpoint side of things, but plenty of them at least will be happy that they were able to rescue something from the day. But I think when you go back and you assess what went wrong, it was, why did we find ourselves in that spot? Like, Stormpoint should have been better when certainly we had some of the early picks in that POI draft.
Yeah, you know, Aurora doing pretty well at the same time. I was very happy with the fact that we at least had some highlights from Aurora, as they are a team that overall we look to in EMEA as being a squad that does change, if not the meta, the way that other teams have to play around them. Specifically thinking back to when they were all on Lifeline and everything was going hunky-dory. Right now, things are a little bit tough for Aurora, but they're still able to claw their way back slowly but surely into the overall leaderboards, because this is contributing in large part to the wrap-up of the season. Now that every single team, every single group has played the same amount. I do want to take a look at our Sony in-zone kill leader for today, and I don't think this is going to be a surprise to a lot of our viewers, but
how shocking.
Yeah, unlucky in effect we're competing for.
Unbelievable scenes. I mean, those two were just nuts today. Let's be real about it. Like, they were absolutely nuts.
Pretty cool that, you know, they're holding hands, they're sharing the title, especially given, Gaskin, that a lot of times Unlucky and Effect aren't just being sent to push the same angle together. They're actually doing different jobs. Like, they're farming different sides of the lobby.
I mean, yeah, Hackers has his pick between the bunch, doesn't he? He can just send them both separate ways, and he knows full well they're both going to be emitting so much damage, and really two of the most terrifying players that you can come up against in any Apex lobby, and they are fully deserving of this kind of award for the day, because it's not really surprising with how they played. Although I will say that I am happy to see that it doesn't matter what weapon seems to be in the hands for them. I mean, to see Unlucky playing with an R99 again is beautiful. I know that P2020s were still the most dominant weapon in the lobby, but to see R9 up there at second place makes me a very happy man, because I know that a lot of people really want to see the R9 be prioritized over the P20 once more.
And it really is making a huge comeback. P20 is still dominating a lot of the kill leaderboards, because of their reliability, but we are seeing those players that are consistent and comfortable getting in your face going, well, I actually think I have a better option in terms of time to kill, in terms of how aggressive I can be with the R99. It is calculated, it is precise, and it is being put like a scalpel into the hands of these top performing players. Really impressive to see, of course, when teams and players are able to rack up crazy amounts of kills like that and put themselves way ahead. I also want to say, Onset, they won the last game, but Forbidden, Mouse, whatever you want to call them, had somebody in the top 3. Aku managed to make it up throughout the day onto our kill leaderboard.
Yeah, I think a lot of that might have been contributed from that last game as well. He seemed to have some really big, impactful frags that just opened up a few of those fights that they had to essentially win to make their way towards that end zone. So it's good to see some fraggers stepping up, especially someone who's playing a lot of games on that Wraith and looking very comfortable doing so as well.
Yeah, especially when you are having to swap legends quite a lot. We saw a lot of flexibility from teams, players, and specifically we mentioned the flexibility when you go from recon to recon, from crypto to sparrow. We're going to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Hakis, to join us after what has been a fantastic day for Alliance. Welcome to the broadcast, King.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.
We would not want to miss an interview after a game day like this. I know that things started really well, especially on Stormpoint. Those last couple games on E-District, maybe a little bit harder. Talk to me about the difference between E-District and Stormpoint, especially because you guys prioritized it in the draft.
I mean, Stormpoint, a lot of characters are like available that we can play that are good on the map. Unfortunately, like E-District coming as a second map, there's not a lot of good like characters available, especially not for the zones that happened next to us. So I think if we had something like an altar or something on E-District, then the map is much easier to play. But I mean, that's just the thing with Legend, like with the Legend bans. You gotta adapt and you gotta play characters that aren't really well suited for the map in general. But I mean, I think we still did the thing we wanted to do. We got a lot of KP in the like game 4, game 5. Game 6 was a little bit awkward. Like I hesitated and should have just. If I landed where I wanted to do from the start, we would have probably won that game because the zone ended there. So it's just unfortunate. Haven't played Valk in a while.
I'm going to jump in here and ask the second question here. Firstly, congratulations, Hakis, on yet another win in Pro League. I think that's back-to-back first places now, if I'm not mistaken, for you guys. I want to talk about the Dev Coast game, though, because that was something I haven't seen in quite some time. That Stormpoint game was...
I mean, I was just praying that they were too locked in on other things and didn't notice the small things. So, yeah, shout out to you, Aim. But overall, I just told Unlucky to play his own game, you know, like act as a solo, just play away from me so that I can actually like just hide, because nobody should expect that, right? Like it's not a common thing, and unless you're super aware, you should not be able to catch that thing. So.
I mean, arguably, you guys are the most consistent team we have in the ALGS right now, whether it be LANs, whether it be online, you are always up there. Of course, still kind of missing that ALGS trophy at the moment. Do you think the mid-season playoffs could be kind to you? I mean, of course, you won the EWC last year, and now with mid-season playoffs being at EWC, do you think that maybe the stars are starting to align for Alliance to be lifting an ALGS trophy?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we already won EWC once, so maybe our curse of ALGS doesn't happen there. So I'm very hopeful. At least we'll get a top 2.
Yeah, you seem to be getting it every single time.
Yeah.
What do you think that is down to? I mean, with consistency, is that something that you as a team, you've just been working on, like always rotating in a similar way? Is it as legend bans helping? Is it the fact that you guys have the ability to just switch over to any legend? Like, is your legend pool deep? Like, what separates you from the rest of the teams in ALGS, do you think?
I think we've always been, like, throughout the years, on a very adaptable team. Like, we've always played very reactive and not set in our ways. So, like, no matter what happens, we should always have a game plan and we should always know what to do. So, and I think just with the experience that we've all accumulated over the time now, like, we're kind of comfortable in almost every scenario.
I mean, that adaptability, and Gaskin, you called it out, the intimate familiarity with a lot of the maps and buildings and everything really showcased today. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, congratulations on what's been a fantastic match day for you guys.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And with that, gentlemen, That's EMEA. We've wrapped it up. It's been a fun day so far. Onset, big takeaways from EMEA's match day 6?
I mean, the obvious one is Alliance are dominant. Like, that's 2 back-to-back first places for them, but it's not just like back-to-back wins. It's back-to-back dominance over the region. I really want to see everyone else try to kind of take a little step back here and reevaluate what it's going to take to get close to them, because at the moment that gap is very, very clear. That them and Na'Vi seem to be separating themselves from the pack. So for everyone else, I think some hard work to do for EMEA to really show that it's more, there's more to this region than the teams that we love to talk about all the time. So there's some hard work to be done.
Yeah, I think it was kind of inevitable, dear, that we were going to be seeing this Alliance dominance when they are still one of the teams that is not making changes. I know they did make that change, which feels like forever ago now, but this core three has been together for so long, as well as the coaching staff, as well as the management staff. It is not really a surprise they're doing so well. So I think a lot of teams can learn from that even if things aren't going well in the first week of your new team, the second week, the third week, the first LAN, you can improve and you can build from it, and a change is not always the answer.
Yeah, the big challenge, the big hot topic today seems to have been when you make changes, when you should be making changes, when you should be adapting, and when you should really stick with it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be sticking with you guys, but I'll give you a break in between at the very least. So I'll see you guys back here for the NA, or rather America's broadcast, and enjoy your break. For us, the audience and I, yes, that's true. We've got America's coming up. It's going to be a blast, as we've got even more games of the ALGS coming up right after this. It's going to be at 11 p.m. BST, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Pacific. That's for me. It'll be a fun day of games for sure, and lots to look forward to, as the Americas are always showcasing some innovation, maybe some also Newcastle absence. A lot to look forward to, because we've got a lot of questions about the region. So I will see you guys there in just a few minutes, as we will be back here on Play Apex with the Americas very soon.
Pen is on a nightstand. Yes, sir. Okay. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass. Thoughts had the speed of light. Got my past and my present doing suicide. It ain't about what you want, it's about what you desire. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire. And when shit get real, boy, you gon' see who gon' ride. Like try to knock me down, but I won't bend. See, I stay heated. Haters try to make me cold again. See, y'all can keep that fame. Boy, I just want the bands. I keep my mind tight, fingers loose. Always kept my eyes on the one with a fast shoe. I travel by night, but I live for the sky blue. A lot of build the best body, they spook. Used to ride tight, you fall short. Gon' show you, boy, who you really need to cut loose this life. And I be sliding through the city, not giving a light in the hand, exhausting this bad, heavy, I'm stuck. No visuals of the past, no images that I had. I showed too much love, but it is life. Shake back that pain I had to let go of. You dog, you get no love but heart. And Unc told me, he looked me in my eyes and told me them ain't your, they gon' try to cut throats, so keep your. Yes, sir. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass. Thoughts at the speed of light. Got my past and my present doing suicide. It ain't about what you want, it's about what you desire. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire. And when shit get real, boy, you gon' see who gon' ride. Living life here day by day. Don't try to ride it way, the current here too strong, boy. You can get swept away in light. Trying to tame a beast and end up missing without a trace. See, I roll it, light it, and pray these problems, boy, just fade away. I'm gifted with this. Dime a dozen, boy, ace of spades. Take L's, I know about it. Come from out that mud, feeling like I couldn't come about it. This here holy writ, etched in stone. Walk with the triple C's, but I'm with this. The hater know my destiny. That's why they won't invest in me. I love being tested. This just bring the best of me. Keep it hot and ready, boy. I can show you the recipe. Keep my black beauty with my call that holder Emily. Downfield range, boy, I'm gunning just like Drew Brees. Throwing verses like passing. I know you cannot receive. With me, no one like Alicia. You walk in white lines when you should have been running keys. I say pen is on a nightstand. Each one is for every thought that a young ever had. I had visions of the future and it's first class. Without ambition, boy, this here dog gon' come to pass.